inquiry into corruption within the SAPS. The matter will be heard in the Constitutional Court today. The MK party is asking the court to set aside 3 of Ramaphosa's decisions, which followed explosive allegations made by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says the MK party is drawing a flawed analogy between the firing of DA MP Andrew Whitfield and the suspension of Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. In papers filed with the Constitutional Court, Ramaphosa says Whitfield violated rules for the members of the executive and admitted to it. Whitfield travelled to the United States on party business in March without the president's permission. He was fired last month. On the other hand, Ramaphosa says he can't fire Mchunu on untested allegations. He says it's not unprecedented to place a minister on special leave, and Mchunu's not received the special treatment of an ally. Furthermore, Ramaphosa is questioning whether the Constitutional Court should even entertain today's application by the MK party on an urgent basis, without it having approached the lower courts first. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
The Health Ombud is set to release its findings today on an investigation into the treatment, complications and deaths of psychiatric patients at 2 Northern Cape hospitals. The investigation addresses cases involving the death of 2 patients and inadequate medical care for another at the Northern Cape Mental Health Hospital and the Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe Hospital. The investigation was initiated following a complaint lodged by Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi in October last year. Thando Luhle-Ngcobo has more.
A previous investigation by the South African Human Rights Commission and the Mental Health Review Board in August last year revealed that the deaths of 3 patients at the Kimberley Mental Health Hospital were under investigation. The deaths were allegedly linked to the facility's poor infrastructure, which included a lack of electricity due to cable theft, broken windows, and a lack of warm water. The patients were transferred to Robert Sobukwe Hospital, where they died. In January last year, there was also a report of a 22-year-old mother who fell to her death from the 5th floor of the Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe Hospital. An inquest docket was opened and the Northern Cape Department of Health confirmed they would investigate the incident. The media briefing today is set to provide an overview of the investigation's findings, conclusions and recommendations. Thando Luhle-Ngcobo, Eyewitness News.
In the courts now, 3 suspects linked to the murder of ANC politician Xoliseka Lali are expected to make their first appearance in the Queenstown Magistrates Court today. Lali was shot and killed last week while at his rented accommodation in Komani. Yesterday, police from the Provincial Serious Crime and Violent Unit nabbed the 3 suspects, including a woman linked to that murder. Police spokesperson Nobuntu Gantana.
The Acting Provincial Commissioner of Eastern Cape, Major General Thandiswa Khupiso, commends the swift and coordinated response of the Provincial Serious Violent Crime Unit, whose diligent follow-up on leads resulted in this arrest. She further assured the community that all investigative avenues are being pursued to ensure justice is served.
We'll shift our focus to this now. South Africa says a reset in bilateral ties between Pretoria and Washington is unavoidable as talks on a trade deal continue. The country is amongst more than 180 countries in the final stretch of negotiations with the US ahead of the August 1st deadline to impose higher import tariffs on trade partners. Trade and Industry Minister Parks Tau says South Africa remains committed to a conclusion on the US trade deal table during President Cyril Ramaphosa's visit to the White House in May. Nugukanya Mdambo has more.
South Africa has stuck to its decision not to retaliate to the reciprocal tariffs first announced by the US earlier this year. Government also says it has no intention of decoupling from the US. Trade and Industry Minister Parks Tau says negotiations remain the best tool to deal with the issues on the table. Part of South Africa's proposal is the exemption of specific sectors from reciprocal tariffs to preserve supply chains, including counter-seasonal agriculture trade. Tau says South Africa has also committed to investing $3.3 billion in U.S. industries such as mining and metals recycling, while both governments agreed to pursue joint investment in critical minerals, pharmaceuticals and agri-machinery. Despite the challenges that have been presented by this period, Tau says the country has dug deep to ensure it's adequately prepared for a number of potential scenarios when the 1 August deadline hits. Nogukanya Mdambo, Eyewitness News.
And in Hawaii, the island of Maui has put various measures in place to prepare for the impact of tsunami waves. Part of these include shutting off water in many parts of the island. The county says it will be closing off valves along coastal areas out of caution. An 8.7 magnitude earthquake struck off Russia's far eastern peninsula this morning. This has triggered warnings of hazardous tsunami waves along coastal areas of Russia, Japan, Alaska and Hawaii. Gold is trading at $3,326.28 an ounce. The rand is at 17.88 to the dollar, 23.84 to the pound, 20.68 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $70.04 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got heavy traffic volumes along the M1 South between the Baklu interchange and the Corlett Drive exit. This is due to an accident, a major one causing these delays. There's also queuing traffic in the northerly direction of this highway approaching Greyston Drive while travelling on the N3 North. Bumper-to-bumper traffic between the Elands interchange and Linksfield Road due to an accident as well.
A fine day in store for Gauteng today. Temperatures peaking at highs of between 18 and 20 degrees. The top story in EWN, President Cyril Ramaphosa has described the legal challenge over his decision to appoint an acting police minister as premature.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
What are the matters that matter to you?
702 Listens.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Nine minutes after 9 o'clock, Dumelang. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show on this 30th day of July. Thank you for being with us here on 702. I trust you're well this morning. The 702 open line starts now on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. You're welcome to share your comments with us on our 702 YouTube page if that's where you are watching and listening to us from. Just Google 702 YouTube page, get in there. You can watch and listen to the show at the same time and post your comments there as well. One of the comments was, how often do you shave your head, bro? Always too clean. Isn't it interesting? Since we've gone live on YouTube, we've become fashion advisors and hair advisors. You often have to, someone likes your jacket or your t-shirt and you have to say where you got it from, or in this case someone is asking how often I shave my beard because they see you on YouTube. Well, I actually shave it every second day. It's so much work, but it's got to be done because the minute I have hair growing, it gets so itchy, so I can't take it. So I have no choice but to shave every second day. So there you go. But yeah, on the 702 open line, if you've got comments on whatever we're discussing on the open line and you want to weigh in, you've got a question, you can put it up on YouTube as well. Here's the question. Do you think the media is being unfair on Deputy President Paul Mashatile? There are those that are suggesting that it's unfair to police his family's wealth. And I absolutely disagree with that. In fact, I think we should be policing the wealth of politicians in this country because we have seen how corrupt some of them can be. Now, the latest on Paul Mashatile is that he has now declared ownership of a 28.9 million rand home in the affluent Cape Town suburb of Constantia. News 24 reported that the house is on paper owned by a company belonging to his son-in-law, Neba Nonkwebo. By the way, the origin of the funds used to buy that house is under investigation by the Hawks. So the deputy president has made this declaration after 2 years of denials about the use and ownership of the property. Mashatile spokesperson at some point claimed that the deputy president used his official residence when he's in Cape Town and no other residence, no other home. In fact, the office of the deputy president issued a statement a while back saying Mashatile owns only one house, the one him and his late wife bought through a bank, and that house is in Kelvin. But does the deputy president stay at that house? No. Where does he stay? News 24 says he stays at that 37 million rand house in the exclusive Waterfall estate in Midrand. So he has declared this 37 million rand house too. In fact, he had previously declared this house in Waterfall too, despite not owning it. And his office said that it was because he had beneficial use of the property. So 2 houses have been declared by the deputy president. 28.9 million home in Constantia, declared as a residential family home by the deputy president. There's a 37 million rand home at Waterfall. Now, your next question would probably be, who owns these houses the deputy president uses? And what links do these people have to government tenders? And I'll get someone who has been investigating this to come and explain that to you in a moment. But do you think that policing the wealth of politicians is wrong? Like, do you think we should be doing that? Is it wrong for Mashatile to have a 28.9 million rand home in Cape Town and a 37 million rand home at Waterfall? You know, I asked someone this morning, would it be different if it was Cyril Ramaphosa, the president? And they said, yes, because he was a businessman for a very long time before he joined politics. So he made money and he came back to politics. And this person argued that Mashatile has been a politician throughout. So where does he get the money? Is the question they ask. And I wonder what you think and what do you make of the explanation he gives that, hey, look, these are my sons who owns these homes, or my sons-in-law. Are you satisfied with that response? Let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. At 10 o'clock, we are going to speak to the Department of Trade and Industry ahead of the 1st of August deadline for that 30% US tariff on our exports. South Africa has offered the US 60 billion rand in private investment. But is that enough to get the US to reconsider the 30% tariff or even extend it? I mean, our country has decided not to retaliate, and now they wait to hear from the US on the proposals that they have made. I will speak to the Trade and Industry Department because the big question also is, how is government going to support the industries that are likely to be most affected? At 10:30, we're going to be in conversation with Standard Bank. According to the latest State of the Climate in Africa 2024 report by the World Meteorological Organization, Africa continues to bear the brunt of climate change, and that's facing mounting costs that could reach up to 5% of the continent's GDP, in fact. So with some nations already spending nearly 9% of their annual budgets on climate-related disasters, it's clear that adaptation and resilience need to be top priorities for both the public and private sectors. And that's why we'll be talking to Standard Bank today, because we're preparing now as South Africa to host the 2025 G20 Summit. It's actually the first ever held on African soil. It's a big deal for us. So we need to look at this issue around climate change and other issues. The B20 Summit is the official business sector engagement group of the B20. So joining us to unpack this growing challenge is going to be Sasha Cook, who's the head of sustainable finance at Standard Bank Group. At 11 o'clock, we do our Listener's Choice feature, and we're going to stay on this topic of the tariffs. And one of our listeners has asked that we discuss the implications of the looming tariff deadline on us as South Africans, and what is the likely impact on our economy as well. I saw the Reserve Bank governor warning of potential job losses nearing 100,000. And as you may have heard, we are now waiting to hear from the US about a trade proposal that we have submitted in the hope of avoiding these high tariffs. But that deadline is fast approaching, and you've got to wonder if we've got any plan. At 11:30, we're going to do the sharing space. And today, we'll tell you about siblings who are trying to claim a stake in their late sister's will because that sister was taking care of them when she was still alive. So that's a chat on our sharing space at 11:30. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Clement, Bongani was saying, I think yesterday morning, that Emara had to put down his own 4 children because they were hungry. There was no food. It's a terrible, form of poverty in Eastern Cape. Now it will be absurd for anyone to come here and say politicians shouldn't be investigated if they amass so much wealth that really logically you cannot explain how. Look at the example that you are mentioning of Paul. Thank you. So this on R21.
Yeah, but then Paul says, well, I don't own the home. For me, what's suspicious is, okay, why are you declaring it? I suppose, okay, let me rephrase that. I suppose his argument is that I am declaring these homes because of beneficial use, because at some point I do stay at this 37 million rand home in Waterfall, or I stay at the 28.9 million rand house in Constantia, so I need to declare it for beneficial use. But it's owned by my son-in-law, it's owned by my son. The question you've got to ask is, have these people received any tenders from government? And in fact, in his own explanation, he has indicated that that has been the case. I think the son-in-law has received a loan, he says, once from one of the entities of the Gauteng government. And then I think one of his sons or 2 sons, in fact, I think it's a story that the News 24 is running this morning, that Thabiso Mashatile and Nyeko Mvelase, 2 of Mashatile's children, are linked to a company that was awarded a 2022 tender to maintain fire suppression and detection systems at hospitals in Gauteng. You've got to ask yourself, as someone who is a senior leader in the African National Congress, someone who is known very well within the political circles in Gauteng, how much influence does he have? And he may not have picked up a call and said, hey, give my children this tender. But there's a way these things work. The minute you have that association to a very senior leader of the organization who comes from this province, people know this person, there is an advantage of sorts that comes with that. And that's why politicians must always be cautious when they have family that does business with the state. You can't want to argue that, yeah, but I was a minister of arts and culture, I had nothing to do with that entity. Yes, but you are a senior politician from Gauteng. You've held such senior positions in the province. So the nuances, the context matters there. That's why he says, in fact, I must find you an interview that he did with Sizwe Mpofu, when he indicated that, yeah, I spoke to my son-in-law and I spoke to my sons as well, and I told them that I don't want them to do business with government. They've only done it once or so, but they normally operate outside of government. But I disagree that we shouldn't be policing the wealth of politicians. It would be a different story if we lived in a different country. This country, our politicians, some of them have shown us that they are crooks, that they will use their families and their friends to benefit from state contracts. So it's important for us to look very closely. More of your WhatsApp voice notes.
Clement, I mean, nothing surprising about the Paul Mashatile revelations. I mean, the script is the same. They just do their work, spend time at Luthuli House, You'll be wondering, how do these guys survive on salaries of 17, 18, 19, 20, 21,000 rands per month? But you look at their lifestyles, they've got properties in upmarket residential areas, your Stain City, one in Midrand, all around the country. But the salaries, at Lutule House, it's 18, 19, 20, 21,000 rands. So it's up to the people they claim to represent, to decide what they want to do with the state of affairs. Thanks, Clement Tabo Midrand.
Good morning, Clement. I think it is correct that Paul Mashatile should be questioned. To my recollection, Paul Mashatile has never run any business. So how does he get to afford multi-million rand homes such as this in Waterfall Estate and in Constantia and Cape Town? Something is not make sure. Bopelo from Benoni.
Good morning, Clement. I don't see anything wrong with our deputy president owning the houses worth millions, as long as he affords them. The fact that we are poor doesn't mean that other people are poor. Thank you very much. Peter Maila Machaba from Letswana.
Yeah, Peter, true, but at least you must be able to explain your wealth, right? That's why I gave an example of, someone who said, I would get it with Ramaphosa. Not to say that Ramaphosa's wealth must not be monitored, and policed, but the argument was, I get it with Ramaphosa because there's evidence of what he has done to amass that wealth, right? Like he was in business and he came back. And the question then you ask is, if Paul Mashatile is living such a luxurious life, living in these multi-million rand properties, where does he get that money from? His explanations have been that, and this is what happens a lot with politicians, is a lot of politicians you'll see, they don't own really much. But that's why you must go look closely. Who are their children? What do they own? And it's unfair on those children because some politicians have children who legitimately are genuine business people. But unfortunately, their fathers and their mothers and their loved ones who are in politics, some of them are working for organizations that have shown us that their politicians can steal like nobody's business. So you are going to be affected by that. That's what I always look at. Politicians are not stupid to go and register it. Do you think a politician would go register a 37 million rand house? That would be stupid of them. That would be so naive of them. Because of course we're going to ask, how do you afford that? So that's not how they operate. Politicians always operate with middlemen. And I'm not suggesting that's what Paul Mashatile has done here. I'm just saying, when you see a politician who says, I only have one house somewhere, I bought it in 1962 or in 1995 or in 2005, don't take that at face value. Go and look at who are the people around him. Who are his children? Who are his cousins? Are they doing business with the state? What's happening? Because in the past we've seen politicians have used people close to them. During COVID, remember during COVID? Politicians' children who were getting tenders to supply what did we call those things? The PPE. They used to go and to come and give PPEs. They were politicians' relatives who were getting tenders to supply PPEs. How do you explain that? So we must always go deeper and ask who are the people that these politicians are related to and are they getting government contracts? And we need to trace it back because often that's how they work. They don't put their names up there. It's 25 after 9.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Some people will ask members of their family to give them a foot massage to help blood moving along. Others will get compression socks to improve circulation. How effective will these measures be?
In terms of compression stockings, yes, that has been a mainstay in the treatment of varicose veins and chronic venous insufficiency for many decades. But in the past, we've moved along from that. The modern recommendations don't recommend the use of compression stockings as a first-line treatment anymore.
Dr. Johan Blugno is a specialist surgeon at Vein Centre South Africa.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
So we did a thing, a full commitment kind of thing. We've partnered with Sixt to bring worldwide to your doorstep. So you see how that's a serious thing, because that's what you deserve. We know you're the GOAT, so premium it is. Premium service, premium vehicles, premium you, premium us. Sani Sixt is all about adding extra to ordinary. Extra reach, extra countries, so you can be extra premium worldwide. Be the greatest of all time and rent Sani Sixt.
Breaking news. SARS has enhanced the personal income tax return form. It has simpler questions that adapt to your income and deductions based on your answers. Whether you're employed or self-employed, the digital form has built-in guidance and the option to save and finish later. Tax matters, so does your time. File with ease on e-filing or the SARS Mobi app today. Go to sars.gov.za. SARS, at your service.
702 and Corporates That Care with Butter are talking about Butter Children's Program.
We've run school donations, volunteer days. We have about 82 people in our head office in KZN. They frequently go down to the Malvern Children's Home. The Malvern Children's Home is a home for orphans that we've adopted basically in the KZN region. We've assisted them with jungle gyms, water tanks, stationary libraries. We've built a library for them, as mentioned. Unfortunately, the Malvern Children's Home has a R1 million debt, water and electricity debt.
Sure.
So we've created a GoFundMe page, and a portion of the proceeds from our Mandela Day shoe sales will go towards this cause. So when corporates choose Toughies for their Mandela Day giving, they're not just buying the school shoes, they're helping children keep their home running.
From jungle gyms to school supplies and life-changing donations, Butter is building brighter futures. Visit butter.co.za to learn more. 702. Let's walk the talk. Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
28 minutes after 9 o'clock. Winnie, you're calling us from Randburg. What are your thoughts? Good morning. Hello, Winnie.
Morning, Clement and the listeners. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
All right. Clement, I just feel that we are so unfair because we think that Paul Mashatile cannot use his brains or he does not have any advice. I'm thinking that the man has been married to his former wife. They had their first home. Wherever they had their homes, ever since he's been in government, hasn't he been saving money? He's been working, the former wife has been working, and all of those other things. I'm just thinking that the way we judge him, we are judging ourselves as well, of saying that, I cannot use my brain to say each and every salary I will put it away, each and every bonus I will put away, I will go into stokvels and all of those other things, because I'm just thinking that in the age that I'm in, we've been starting with a stokvel. When I was in my 20s, we were saving 500, we went to 1,000. Now we are saving close to 10,000 rand a month because we had that discipline and that drive to say that this is what we want to do, and that is how we have, forced ourselves living below our means. And I'm just thinking it's very much unfair. I know that he's a politician, but the way we judge and we scrutinize that he cannot be having a 28 million rand property. And I'm just thinking, 28 for his age, and thinking where I am was, for the discipline of the past 25, 26 years that I have put with my husband together and some of my friends.
Do you think you should explain that maybe, Winnie? Do you think he should be able to say, oh, guys, I did save money. Look at how much money I saved, and that's how I'm able to live in this luxurious life or in these multi-million rand properties.
But I think he can explain as much as he can, but we will still doubt him that he cannot afford that. And to me, I'm just saying that, when you look at the discipline that you have put in, I'm thinking about me as an ordinary person.
It's possible to do that, yeah. I get you, Win, I get you.
Yes.
But are you saying should he be able to do that? Like, would you be satisfied? Because these are politicians, right, Winnie? It's important to understand the context here. In the ANC, we have seen leaders of the ANC who use government contracts to enrich themselves. So there are some South Africans who actually just want to satisfy themselves. So do you think that's why there are lifestyle audits, right? Because politicians need to be able to say, oh, I drive a 5 million rand car. Here's how I'm able to afford it. So do you agree, though, that as a politician, if you are living in a house that your salary ordinarily would not be able to afford even an installment on that bond, you should be able to say, oh, here's how I'm able to do it. I've been saving money throughout, or I've got shares in this and that company, and this is how I'm able to afford this.
Yes, I think he can do that if he wants to, but he's not forced. There's the other thing, because even if when he explained that we will go after those companies, he's got shares in there because of this 1, 2, and 3, and then when he does not, he's at fault. Okay,
Winnie in Randburg, thank you so much for your thoughts. And once again, I've got to clarify again, the deputy president, from what we have seen, he has claimed that these houses, these expensive houses, are actually owned by one, I think, his son-in-law, this one that he has now declared there in fact, together with the one in Waterfall. So these are not houses that are owned by him. More of your WhatsApps and calls after the headlines. Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to defend his decision to place Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on special leave and to establish a commission of inquiry into corruption within the SAPS. The matter will be heard in the Constitutional Court today. The MK party is asking the court to set aside 3 of Ramaphosa's decisions, which followed explosive allegations made by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi has welcomed the release of a report into the controversial oxygen plant tender. Yesterday, the Department of Public Works released findings of a forensic report looking into the 836 million rand tender. The report found that the award was irregular and has recommended disciplinary action be taken against some high-ranking officials. And in Hawaii, the island of Maui has put various measures in place to prepare for the impact of tsunami waves. Part of these measures include shutting off water in many parts of the island. The county says it will be closing off valves along coastal areas out of caution. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling out of Tembisa, do expect delays on the R21 South, approaching the R23 due to roadworks as well as an earlier accident after Olifantsfontein Road, while on the M1 South, bumper-to-bumper traffic between Buccleuch Interchange and Glenhove Road. This is due to an accident right after Corlett Drive. It's causing massive queues. Please be on the lookout. If you're travelling in Melrose, there's another accident reported. This one is along Corlett Drive right near the M1 exit, and it's slowing down traffic. While speaking of slow-moving traffic, we've got more delays on the M1 North between Boysons and Carr Street. There's also slow-moving traffic along the N3 North between the Geldenhuys Interchange and the Buccleuch Interchange. Please be on the lookout there and continue driving with care. Otherwise, travelling in four-ways, delays on Winnie Mandela Drive between the N1 and Witkoppen Road. This is due to the faulty traffic lights in this area, so please drive with patience within this area. I'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. This past Sunday, Joburg walked the talk together. Thousands stepped up, stepped out, and stepped forward. And none of it would have been possible without the incredible partners who walked this journey with us.
As Polar Ice Cream, we were indeed very excited to see just how people engage together. We partnered with 702 because our philosophy aligned with what 702 is doing, engaging with community. We also want to walk the talk when it comes to making sure we provide provide good value for money products to all our consumers. We will definitely be back next year. There's no doubt about that. We're really excited. For us, it's always about a long-term engagement.
A heartfelt thank you to every sponsor who made this year's 702 Walk the Talk possible. You powered the spirit of a city walking as one. The 702 Walk the Talk was hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
What does extraordinary mean to you?
Is it being voted South Africa's most trusted enterprise telco 2 years in a row?
Vodacom Business helps more than 133,000 businesses with AI, cloud, enterprise apps, IoT, and security. One seamless ecosystem. Together, let's build the extraordinary that sustains today and protects tomorrow. Start your journey at vodacombusiness.co.za. Further together. Vodacom Business.
So, Taryn, you've just graduated cum laude, but nothing says you're a genius quite like selling your car to We Buy Cars.
Absolutely. My car was an 18th birthday present, and it's time to move on to something a bit more mature.
So, where did you hear about We Buy Cars?
All of my friends are using We Buy Cars. I would have had legit FOMO if I hadn't used them. And it was so quick. I did it on my laptop while sending around my CV.
Smart move, Taryn. Graduated and upgraded. We Buy Cars. Geared for success, geared for you.
Welcome to the brand new days.
Sail the world with Norwegian Cruise Line, with more to see, more to do, and more to enjoy. Plus, upgrade your holiday with NCL's More at Sea for premium beverages, specialty dining, and much more. Think international cruising. Think NCL. For the best deals available, visit ncl.com or contact your travel agent. Restrictions apply.
Welcome to the brand new days.
Every business begins with heart, but it thrives with support. And no one backs Gauteng's dreamers and doers like 702, Yoko, and you. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702 and Yoko are back to recognize and celebrate the local entrepreneurs making life better. From your favorite coffee spot to the baker who knows your name, from the salon that raised generations to the bold newcomer raising the bar. Just think of the business that made you feel seen. Now's your chance to say, I see you. I see you. Go to primemediaplus.com to view the categories and make your nomination. Because this province isn't just the hub of business, it's the home of excellence. And excellence deserves your applause. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Let Yoko Counter fuel your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point of sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock. This is the 702 open line. We are live on the 702 YouTube page. In fact, I've got some comments that are coming through on the YouTube page. William on YouTube says, Clement, the DA leaders also with the same vigor should be scrutinized. They have been in the Western Cape government for all this time. William, I absolutely agree with you. Where it becomes inconsistent is when there is no similar vigor to scrutinize some of the DA, let's say in this case, DA politicians in the Western Cape. But who is the DA politician in the Western Cape who lives in such a multi-million rand house? Because if there's one that exists and that person is not being investigated, then that is weird. That is inconsistent. I agree with you. But do you know of one who does? I've not seen one. One person once claimed that Helen lives in a house like that. I've actually been to Helen Zille's house in the Western Cape, not to visit her for tea or anything, but it was to shoot an interview. When I was recording a show for SABC2 last year. It was called 30 Winds of Change. And we had to we were visiting the homes of all these. I mean, we went to Mogoeng's house in the Northwest. We went to Dali Tambo's house, all these politicians and people in the judiciary. We went to Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng's house in Cape Town. So we're traveling around the country, and one of the homes we visited was Helen Zille's home. And trust me, it's the most modest house I have ever seen of any politician. I have never come across any other politician who lives in a modest house like Helen Ziller. You know what car Helen Ziller drives? What car was it? Was it a Corsa? Helen, just outside a garage, she had parked her car, the one she had owned for so many years. You'd probably buy that car for 30,000 rand now. So it's such a modest home, and I'm not suggesting all of the DA politicians live like that. I'm saying if you know of one, William, on YouTube, let me know, because then we can say, but why are we not checking out this one who lives, or John Steenhuisen, or whoever who lives in a house like this, or whose children have got contracts with the Western Cape government. But I agree that if we're not focusing on that, then we're not being consistent as well. On YouTube, Anna also says, hi, Clement, I totally agree. Politicians must be investigated. Their lifestyles are extravagant. South Africans are becoming more and more poorer. Bunny, you are calling us from Brakpan. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Clement.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, yeah, sorry, man. I just needed to respond to the lady from Random that called in with regards to politicians using their brains and stuff. And I just quickly went in to check Paul Masatile's age to do a quick test. So he would have been 32 years in politics if we count from 94. At 10,000 rand, both him and his wife would have saved 7.6 million. Compound interest, all of that will take us to 36.8 million. Now, and this is to your point. When we're talking lifestyle audits. Because if you take all of their expenses, school fees, food, rent, rates and taxes, all the works, it is still not going to accumulate to what he currently has. And that's why it is important for us. Who's his family members? Who supports him? And there would be nothing wrong with that. But the close proximity to them doing their business with government would become a problem.
Yeah.
And as you say, who do you pick up a call to and say, listen here, my son is applying for a tender there and there. Please assist him. But we can even take it away from government, Clement. We've seen politicians now with Kenny Kunene and them, but in the underworld, that can also expose some drug dealings. We had Jacob Mamabolo that was doing business with Chinese guys that were selling rhino on. So it's not just about also are they doing business with tenders, but what other illegal activities might they be involved in? And we must stop buying this nonsense from politicians. We must really be consistent and do it for every single politician that is out there.
Yeah.
And that would be my comment. We must just as people think these things through and do the math, because we are ourselves in business and in banking and in accountants and whatever. Just sit down and do the math. When a politician says, I've got 150 million like Gated McKenzie, I'm in the mining industry, for example. I don't want to be all over the place. I've never come across any of his mines. And all of a sudden now his son bought a team and they've got 1,000 mines that he was talking about the other day. So he's got more mines than Patrice Motsepe. So technically Gaten is more rich than Patrice. And for me, we need to interrogate these things, because otherwise if we're just going to accept what politicians tell us, we are doomed.
Yeah, Bunny, sure, calling us there from Brakpan. A number of claims there being made. But I think, Bunny, your broader point is we need to scrutinize. Guys, I have no problem with a politician who's got children who are doing incredibly well and who are out there in other sectors of the industry. My issue is always going to be with, if your child gets a contract from a government, I am going to ask some questions. And you may want to claim that, but I was not MEC in the province at the time. But you're a senior, who doesn't know Paul Mashatile in Gauteng, for instance? Paul Mashatile is a very known figure in Gauteng circles. He's held senior positions in this province, in the ANC, in government. So you may have been arts and culture minister, but do you really think that your child who applies for a tender, that's not going to raise eyebrows? I think as a politician, the minute you choose that I want to serve the public and I'm choosing to accept the calling and the appointment of deputy president or of president or of minister, you must know that that comes with a burden. That burden is that your family is going to be scrutinized differently to other families that are normal out there. You must accept that there's going to be a burden that your family is not going to be allowed to do business with the state. Are you prepared to accept that burden? If you're not prepared to accept it, then stay away from a senior government position and allow your family to continue benefiting from the state. That's fine. It's like when you become a judge. When you become a judge, you accept a lot of sacrifices. There are burdens that you take on. Like, you can't just go around making political statements. That's why they'll take you to the JSC. So there are burdens of responsibility that come with the positions that we occupy. In this case, there are two sons of Paul Mashatile who are linked to a company that was awarded a tender in 2022. The companies were paid a combined 36.4 million rand and are owed 12.6 million rand for work that's already been completed. I think that's done, which is great because in some cases it's worse. Some of the relatives of the politicians get paid monies for projects that are not even completed. In this case, News 24 reports the project was completed, right? This tender was to maintain fire suppression and detection systems at hospitals in Gauteng. Are you saying that we must just look at this and go past this and think, these are Paul Mashatile's sons. Yes, they got 36.4 million rand but it doesn't mean anything. No, we have to scrutinize. We've got to ask serious questions. And maybe, yes, they followed the bidding process which is fine, but we've got to satisfy ourselves because history has taught us to be careful. That's what history has taught us. And Paul Mashatile, I think, has already indicated that he has told his sons not to do business with government again because even he himself realizes that this is suspicious. Do you know how many people have failed lifestyle audits in Gauteng? How many people? 4 or 3. 3 or 4 senior government officials in Gauteng. Panyaza Lesufi has had to let them go because they have failed lifestyle audits. These are people who can't explain where their wealth is coming from. They can't. What does that tell you? If Paul Mashatile says, this property in Cape Town is owned by my son-in-law, and you realize that the son-in-law at some point received the loan from the Gauteng, one of the entities in the Gauteng government, you've got to ask the questions, okay, how much? Why? What was the bidding process? What happened? Because we've got to satisfy ourselves that a proper process was followed. This person didn't get any advantage over other people just because they are related to a very, very, very senior politician in the province. Tulani, you're in Centurion. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Clement.
Sure.
You disappointed me yesterday, man. I marveled at the word super consultant. And I thought you were going to ask, what is a super consultant? I really was marveling at the term. I've never heard of it before.
I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, he was insisting, I'm a super consultant. But two things, Clement. The first thing is with regards to the interview that you had yesterday.
Yeah.
I think the guy regretted the interview in the middle of it. He honestly regretted it. He did not expect you to ask the questions that you asked.
Kanti, what do people expect journalists to do? Like, what do they expect us to do? That we are so dumb that we're just going to say, hey, what's your reaction to this?
I think the insatiable appetite that he has for spotlight and limelight drove him to accept the interview. But in the middle of it, I think he regretted why I actually took this interview on. Because if indeed he is an informer, people that he might have informed on before now know that possibly and maybe they might have suspected him, now know that it might be him. And I think that's one of the reasons why he might be regretting why he took that interview on. But with regard to Paul Mashatile, Clement, I'll be brutally honest with you. I doubt there is a politician that has not done something and that politician comes from the ANC. I really doubt it. If there is one, I would swallow my words and I'll eat humble pie. But I really, really doubt if there is any. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Tilani, calling us from Centurion. That's what he doubts. In fact, I feel bad because I didn't give you guys enough time to respond to the interview that we did yesterday with Malcolm X. So let me see what I can do, because what Tulani is raising about a super consultant, I'm interested in going deeper into that, because what is a super consultant? And you'll get the context of that in a moment. Maybe I should pay you some of the clips of that. It's 10 minutes now before 10 o'clock.
702 delivers
on the matters that matter to you.
I'm Nathan Ilunga. I'm Congolese, and one thing I love about 702 is the open line on Clement Manyathela show and the healing hour. Overall, what I like most about the station is the different topic they cover. They broaden your mind and push you to think. They help you to become a critical thinker. So that's why I listen to 702.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts,
so we can deliver more on what matters to you.
702 listens.
Let's walk the talk.
If you want to know about the heart and art of jazz, look no further than the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival, a grand ensemble of over 50 world-class acts across 4 stages for 3 whole days. That's right, from the 26th, 27th and 28th of September. The Sandton Convention Center will be demure and sophisticated as the fine Standard Bank Joy of Jazz 2025 takes you deep into the heart, the art and splendor of jazz. Take me there. Book your seat via Ticketmaster now.
Your workday calls for more capability, more grit, more getting it done. Your weekends demand more freedom, more pushing the boundaries. And the new GWMP 300 LS Bucky is where it all comes together. Bring it on in the new GWMP 300 LS from only 529,900 Rand. Visit gwm.coza or your nearest dealer to book a test drive. GWM, go with more.
At Bright, we don't just provide business insurance, we insure your business's
future success.
Because your business is so much more than desks and computers and equipment, which is why we use our specialist expertise to tailor solutions for each client differently to ensure what's really important. So insure your businesses.
Financial security,
with Bright today. Contact your broker or go to brightinsure.co.za to find out more. Bright, approach risk with purpose. Bright is a licensed insurer and authorized FSP.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
7 minutes before 10 o'clock. I'm going to continue with your calls and WhatsApps in a moment. I want to plug you onto something now. So recently on the show, we've been talking a lot about AI and how people have no fluency in AI. They don't know how to use AI. Remember we spoke even on our Listener's Choice feature about some judges that have raised concerns, even the legal aid practice have raised concerns about how lawyers are using AI, and sometimes AI hallucinates and puts up non-existent case laws. And I think there's more and more need now to get fluency in AI and understand how we can use it. And I've got someone on the line who's going to tell us about the opportunity that exists for you to get some course in the fluency of AI. So you could sign up even before the end of July, in fact, and talk about, and you can come through and hear how you can gain fluency in AI and how this course can enable you to do so. So welcome Professor Mamo Chifipa, who is in Johannesburg for us now, joining us on the line. Prof, thank you for coming through. Good morning.
Clement.
How are you?
Hi, good morning, Clement. I'm really well. I'm in the Eastern Cape and we are driving the message of AI fluency.
That's great.
Been going across the country, and thank you so much for the wonderful introduction.
So please tell us more about the opportunity that exists, because every time we've had this chat about AI and how we're using it and what we're not understanding, there are a lot of people who say, but where do I get to learn about how I can use it in an ethical way? So what is the opportunity that exists for people who would want to learn more?
The Net Campus is offering a course, a free AI fluency course, and the aim was to reach 100,000 South Africans who need to become AI fluent. And people may ask, what is the course about? I mean, it's free. It takes 6 hours, and you don't have to do all the 6 hours all at once. You register for the course free of charge. You can get a QR code, and I'll send it to you. You can put it on your social media pages, Clement, so that people can read it. It's on my social media pages as well. You get an email, and then you decide when to start. Once you start, you can take the 6 hours at your leisure. Whether you do 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, or whatever, the idea is to finish all the 6 hours, and then you write an exam at the end. When you pass, you get a Microsoft accredited certificate that says you are AI fluent. Now, AI fluency is important. You mentioned the issue of when the AI model hallucinates. Well, this course, one of the things that this course will do is to help you to evaluate content that is generated by any AI model, because the AI is not new. What's new is generative AI, because it can generate human-like content. But that human-like content sometimes is flawed, and the issue is, how do you know? And so you will get the skills to be able to evaluate any human-like content, any content that's generated by AI, whether it's you who generated it or it comes from elsewhere, to see whether this is flawed or deep fake or whatever. And that's important. But the tool, the course will also help you get better at prompting, because when you have an AI tool, what makes it more useful is if you know how to prompt.
I see.
Yeah, because it depends on the prompt that you give. The information that you get depends on the prompt that you give the AI model. If the prompt is not specific, not focused, then of course sometimes that's also the root of hallucination that the AI tool gives you. So it will help you with all of that. Now, some people say to me, this is Microsoft. Are we just going to be indoctrinated into all the Microsoft AI tools only? No. The course will introduce you to other AI tools as well. For example, GPT is not a Microsoft tool, but you will talk about ChatGPT and other AI models. And then, of course, there will be a much more intense focus on Copilot. And here's the thing. All of us sitting here have got Microsoft software on our laptops. It comes on our computers, desktops or laptops. It comes standard. And so everyone has it and sort of has it in inverted commas for free. It's better to be able to use the tool that you already have than just learn about the tools that you have to buy. This one you already have. But you will also be introduced to the other AI tools that you don't have. And of course, you mentioned the issue of ethics. You will also be taught how to evaluate, how to be ethical in using AI tools, whether as a student or even as a professional in your workplace.
I see. So how do people register for this course? I will put up a link as well, but if they go on Twitter, they find a link, you just click it and then you go register there.
And it takes 1 minute to register. When you register, if you click on the link, I'll send you the QR code now. If they use the QR code, click on the link, it will take them to a page, and it might say in partnership with Professor Mamkhet. You click, you complete your name, you write your email address. It might say reference. If it says reference, you can just write Prof. Pakeng, then they know that it's the free course that comes from here. And then you chill. You'll get an email within 48 hours, and the email will welcome you, recognize that you've registered, and direct you where to click when you are ready to start. You click there to start at your own leisure.
Okay.
And then you decide how you chunk the 6 hours.
All right.
And here's the thing, Clement, many people say, well, we write an exam at the end. What if I don't pass? Well, if you don't pass, you write it again and again and again.
Until you get it.
And that's the time you get a certificate. People say, what do I do with the certificate? Well, first of all, you can use it as a flex on LinkedIn for people to know that you're fluent. But every time you apply for an opportunity, you put it in, because AI fluency is the standard.
Yeah, absolutely. Professor Mamkhet Pakeng, thank you so much for that plug. I think that is incredibly important given how we're increasingly using AI these days. I'll put up that link on my Twitter account, but also check it out on Professor Mamkhet Pakeng's timeline if you really want to register for this course.
Dear Journal, day 4602 of trying to be an adult. My doctor asked me how my quality of rest is at the moment. I told him I have 2 problems. I struggle to sleep at night, but I also struggle to awake at day.
Aggressively realizing your age. Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's simple and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
Imagine 30% off everything for your garden. This week only at Stodell's Garden Centres. This special offer is just for Stodell's Garden Club members. Not a Stodell's Garden Club member yet? Simply sign up at Bryanston, Ferndale or Menlo Park and start saving right away. No waiting, no catch. Drop in and see why there's such a buzz about Stodell's. Hurry, offer ends 3rd August. Stodell's Garden Centres. Create happiness.
Of course you could take the lift just one floor up. Or you could grab the new Berry Blue sports drink from Aquila Vive and get moving. Blue has never tasted so good. Bursting with bold berry flavor, packed with electrolytes and vitamins, and free from colorants. Aquila Vive sports and power drinks. Let's move.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Bali Dlamini. President Cyril Ramaphosa has described the legal challenge over his decision to appoint an acting police minister as premature. Ramaphosa is expected to defend his decision to place Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on special leave and to establish a commission of inquiry into corruption within the SAPS. That matter will be heard in the Concourt today. The MK party is asking the court to set aside 3 of Ramaphosa's decisions, which followed explosive allegations made by KZN Police Commissioner Ntantla Mkhwanazi. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says the MK party is drawing a flawed analogy between the firing of DA MP Andrew Whitfield and the suspension of Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. In papers filed with the Constitutional Court, Ramaphosa says Whitfield violated rules for the members of the executive and admitted to it. Whitfield travelled to the United States on party business in March without the president's permission. He was fired last month. On the other hand, Ramaphosa says he can't fire Mchunu on untested allegations. He says it's not unprecedented to place a minister on special leave and Mchunu's not received the special treatment of an ally. Furthermore, Ramaphosa is questioning whether the Constitutional Court should even entertain today's application by the MK party on an urgent basis, without it having approached the lower courts first. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
Let's stay with politics. EFF leader Julius Malema says there is a lack of maturity on Parliament's opposition benches, taking aim at MK Party Chief Whip Colleen Makhubele. Malema maintains that the MK Party has not lived up to expectations as a credible and dependable organisation on the opposition benches. Speaking on EWN's Politricking podcast, Malema listed examples of what he sees as a clear example of the MK Party's failure to fulfil its role.
For Colleen to start acting like a school rep who's in competition with another girl, when Umpile goes first, she gets irritated and then she throws her toys. That I'm the one who's supposed to say it. But she's saying the same thing you want to say. What's your problem?
He says this is why the EFF has chosen to distance itself from the MK party.
We are not in a fight with MK. We just decided to concentrate on our party and build our party. Because when we try to be nice people, we almost got killed for being nice.
To this now, Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi has welcomed the release of a report into the controversial oxygen plant tender. Yesterday, the Department of Public Works released findings of a forensic report looking into the 836 million rand tender. The report found the award was irregular and has recommended disciplinary action be taken against some high-ranking officials. It says the company, which was awarded the tender, did not have accreditation to supply medical equipment. Pressure swing absorption oxygen plants play a crucial role in cleaning the air inside hospitals. Motsoaledi says the release of this report will finally remove the cloud hanging above the tender. Spokesperson Foster Mohale.
Minister Motsoaledi is pleased that the Department of Health has lost nothing and all the money that has been donated by the Global Fund is safe. It will have been said if the donor fund money was to disappear under our watch.
In the Western Cape, 2 teenagers linked to the murder of a retired school teacher in Bredasdorp are expected back in court today. The pair, aged 16 and 18, were arrested shortly after the murder on July the 12th when they were spotted driving around in the teacher's car. It's understood that 82-year-old Sammy Kluter was stabbed to death and robbed at his home. Ntutuzelo Nene has more.
Last Monday, the investigating officer testified that 18-year-old Sean Swart was not involved in the murder of retired teacher Sammy Kluter. The court heard that Swart is only connected with the case after the 16-year-old came to pick him up with the deceased vehicle for a joyride. Swart was granted bail and ordered to stay at an alternative address in Strosby. The minor remains in custody in a facility fitting children in conflict with the law. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
And in Thailand, at least 9 people have been killed and 2 others injured in an explosion at a fireworks factory. The updated figures come as officers continue to search the site. Authorities say the cause of the explosion is not yet known, but an investigation is underway. Factory fires are common in Thailand, where enforcement of safety regulations remains weak. Last year, an explosion at another fireworks factory in the same province killed at least 23 people. Gold is trading at $3,326.27 an ounce. The rand is at 17.89 to the dollar, 23.84 to the pound, 20.63 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $70.04 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the M1 South between Greyston Drive and Glenhove Road. There's also queuing traffic along the N3 North between Van Buren Road and the Gilulis interchange.
A fine day in store for Gauteng today, temperatures peaking at highs of between 18 and 20 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa has described the legal challenge over his decision to appoint an acting police minister as premature.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. 702.
We're listening to you. You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. Thank you for staying with us on YouTube as well, because we have a whole community there that's watching and listening to the show at the same time. Okay, I see that a lot of you are asking about this link that Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng spoke about. I have tweeted it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to send it to each and every one of you. So you've got to, if you're not on Twitter, you've got to ask somebody who is, to just go on my timeline at The Real Clement M is my Twitter account name, or go to Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng. If you just type Phakeng or Kgethi Phakeng on Twitter, her profile should come up. And she has posted about this. So you'll see that her tweet says the AI Fluency National Campus Tour at the UNISA campus in Florida. Make sure you don't miss out on the opportunity to become fluent in AI. Register for the free AI Fluency course before the end of July. So there's a link there that is attached. In fact, I've just opened it now. It says free AI Fluency training. Start now. I won't start now because I'm still on air. But I have retweeted that and I've said, guys, here is that link that Professor Phakeng spoke about. So check it out on Twitter at The Real Clement M. I've just tweeted it, or check out Mamokgethi Pakeng's timeline on Twitter or on X, as some people still call it. And yeah, you can start doing your free online AI fluency course. It's 10 minutes now after 10 o'clock.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
Okay, so I said to you before the news at 10 o'clock that we actually didn't give you enough time. Yesterday we had a conversation with Malcolm X. And I'm doing this because there are a number of you that wanted to comment on that interview yesterday. But I just thought, for some reason, we've moved on. That's why I introed a different conversation. But we did take a call from Tulani earlier on, who spoke about Malcolm X and what he said about being a super consultant. So here's what we thought we're going to do. So we're going to give you an opportunity to do that in this first 30 minutes of the show. So we'll play you... what I'll do is I'll play you some snippets. Abel, how long is the full interview? So I'm going to play 20 minutes. Yeah, that's all. I'm going to play you some snippets of the conversation with Malcolm X, and then I'm going to take your calls. And you can tell us what your reflections were, and maybe you still remember what he said yesterday, and you can share with us what your reflections were. And for me, is my question, I suppose, after that conversation was, what do you think is at play here? What do you think is at play? What based on what he has said and what Godfrey Lebeya has said, what do you think is adding up for you? What is not adding up for you? And I saw Godfrey Lebeya did an interview yesterday somewhere else. I could be wrong, but I will confirm this. I saw there's another news agency or a radio station that tweeted an interview that they did with Godfrey Lebeya, and yet he refused to come and speak to us when Malcolm X contradicted what he told us. Isn't that suspicious? So that was very suspicious for me, because I'm not suggesting that this means anything on the character of Godfrey Lebeya. I'm just saying that he came on air and he told us a story. Malcolm X came and contradicted that story. We called him immediately as Malcolm X made those allegations, and we said, here's an opportunity for you to come and tell us what your views are on what Malcolm X has just told us. Because Malcolm X says it's not true what Godfrey Lebeya said, that this is someone who has provided credible information before as an informant to the Hawks. And then we said, come through. And he said he's not going to be able to come through. The next place he's going to be speaking at is the Commission of Inquiry, the Madlanga Inquiry. Malcolm X made another claim that he has a relationship with Godfrey Lebeya. They've been talking even on WhatsApp since 2023. Malcolm X didn't want to tell us what they've been talking about. And we called Godfrey Lebeya again and we said, okay, this is what he now says about your conversation since 2023. What was the conversation about? If it was about maybe some criminal matters, he was informing you about something, you don't have to reveal that to us, but at least satisfy South Africans that this is what we were talking about. We care about that because General Mkhwanazi has told us that there are some business people that have relationships with law enforcement heads. And in fact, Malcolm X did say, I have a relationship with these heads of law enforcement because I know their bosses. And even they have a relationship with me. So when we gave Godfrey Lebeya an opportunity to come on the show yesterday to explain that, what Malcolm X has told us, he said, I can't come on air. He told us he'll speak at the inquiry. Next thing, we see an interview that he's done somewhere else. Of course, he's got every right to go and speak wherever. It's just suspicious that, here's someone contradicting you on this platform. You don't want to come and respond to questions on that. But you're happy to go somewhere else, even though you've told us that you're not speaking to us because you're going to speak at the inquiry. That was interesting. So here's what Malcolm X says. So what we'll do is the conversation we're going to have now at 10 o'clock, we'll move it to that 11 o'clock because we were going to talk about tariffs anyway at 11 o'clock. So we'll have that chat about what our plan is as South African government, what are the implications of the tariffs as we prepare for them come the 1st of August. But here's an opportunity for you to comment on that conversation with Malcolm X. What did it reveal for you? What do you think is at play here? 011-883-06 0702. The WhatsApp line is 072 702 1702.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
All right, let's start with this. I don't remember what he was saying here, Abel, but just play it. So based on the Africa News Global website, they're saying that you said that it's the friend of Molefe who called you. In fact, let me quote it here. It says, Malcolm X told Africa Global that he received a call from a client of his who happened to be friends with Molefe. So you told Africa News Global this person was friends with Molefe. You're telling me now that this person was brothers to Molefe. Which is which?
Okay. Now, in the streets, a friend can be a brother can be a friend. I could be friends with someone, but the friendship could be at a level whereby we feel that we are brother, that we feel that it's no longer just a friendship, but a brotherhood. Now, I've got people who are not related to me biologically, but I call them my brother. How are you, my brother? We call each other brothers.
Okay, so in this case, can we be clear then? Is it a friend or is it a brother?
I don't know if they are friends or brothers, but they call each other brothers.
So that is the first contradiction that I put up to him, because on Africa News Global he says, oh, a friend of Katie Molefe called me, but when he spoke to us yesterday, he said, a brother of Katie Molefe called me. And he says in his circles, brother and friend are the same thing. But these things matters, especially when the waters are so murky. These small little details matter, and that's why you've got to be able to clarify and get really what the true story is. So here he is now talking about being a super consultant, because I had asked him, why do you have such easy access to these high profile people? And he says, no, but I know politicians. I said, but the head of the Hawks is not a politician. Far from it, in fact. So how do you have access? Because you said you know these heads of law enforcement agencies because you know their bosses. I imagine ministers. How do you have access to these people? Is that where you operate in your industry? And this is how he explained it. You said the brother of Molefe is the one who called you and said, my brother is about to be arrested and we're concerned, right?
Yes.
Okay. Why did the brother call you? Why didn't he call the police?
I don't know why he didn't call the police. But as a super consultant that I am.
What do you consult in? Are you a lawyer?
No, a consultant. With a registered company in consulting, I consult for everything, entertainment, construction, all that.
Okay, so with legalities like this, what gives you the authority to be, for instance, if someone consults me, it's probably going to be about the media interviews. Nobody's going to call me, for instance, and say, oh my God, my brother is about to be arrested and these people are identified, because I don't have authority on that. I don't consult in that space. So I'm trying to understand, if you are not a lawyer, you are not an investigator, on what authority did the brother of Molefe call you and say, help?
The brother of Molefe called me because he's been my client for a long time in entertainment. Now they know that I'm very close to authorities as in politicians, businessmen and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
he knew. Yeah, and he knew that at that level I could assist.
Okay, that might make sense. So they knew that you are close to authorities. So that's very important. I mean, if you're going to call someone who's a businessman and you call them because you know that they're close to authorities, and not any other authorities, but law enforcement authorities, based on what General Mkhwanazi has said, that's quite like some critical information to take to mind. Now, here's Malcolm X talking about what happened after General Mkhwanazi held a press briefing earlier this month, because he was telling us that he called him and General Mkhwanazi at some point called him back because he had missed his call. Here's how he explained it. You called General Mkhwanazi after his press briefing. Do you have a relationship with General Mkhwanazi? Because you seem to have a very close relationship with these top police officials, because you said you've got links to their bosses.
They also have relationships with me.
Yeah. On what basis? On what basis?
I've never met General Mkhwanazi before. Besides to say, we had an international festival in Durban in May.
Yeah.
We brought Rick Ross. I was a joint venture partner at that festival, and Obviously we had to interact with authorities in there then, the municipality. And in one of the pictures, General Mkhwanazi met my business partner.
Okay, so when you called him after his press briefing, what were you trying to clarify to him?
I was trying to say, General, you said someone that called General Libya tried to interfere with the work of the police. I'm that person, and I was not trying to interfere with the work of the police.
And what did he say?
He did not pick up. Then 3 hours later, he called me. I also missed his call. The following day, I called him twice, but he did not pick up.
Okay.
Prior to that, I had sent him, after the festival, I had sent him a message to thank him.
Okay.
For a festival that went well, where our people were safe.
Okay.
So I've never had a telephone discussion with him besides missing each other's calls.
Okay, got it. Missing each other's calls. So that's what he said about General Mkhwanazi. Now, here's the last clip I'll play for you, and then I'll go to your calls and WhatsApps where he speaks about what Godfrey Libya said. So, if you missed it, last week we spoke to the former Hawks head, Godfrey Libya, and he said that he received a call from a police informant, someone who has provided information before to the police previously. And this time, and that information has been credible. And he called him and said, there are people here who are trying to arrest this person, and they claim to be Hawks officers. And the Hawks head then said, okay, because these people may be impersonating Hawks officers, we arranged for Hawks officers to go there and check, blah, 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 but they didn't stop the arrest. But what was interesting here was that this man, Malcolm X, said that, look, I have never provided information to the police before. I've never done that. I'm not a police informant. I did call Godfrey Libya on the day because I found police officers who were claiming this and this and this, but I've never been a police informant. So what I did is I played him a clip of Godfrey Libya confirming that this informant, in this case Malcolm X, has actually provided information before to the Hawks that has been credible. And this is how he responded to that.
Just put it on record that I have never provided information to the Hawks or the police, as the general says. I'm actually appalled. I'm not an informant, as he says. If I were to show you our communications, as in WhatsApp communications, since 2023, you'll see that there's nothing about providing information, credible information. I've never been his informant. I've never been registered as his informant.
So what were you guys talking about since 2023 on WhatsApp with the head of the Hawks?
We're talking about things that have nothing to do with being an informant, nothing to do with Katie Molefe. I did not know Molefe. So on the court, I'm not his informant. I've never been.
But since 2023, you were talking to the Hawks head. What were you guys talking about?
We're talking about things that are totally different from what's being reported here. And it was
like
not
what?
about
Is it something you can't tell us? Is it a secret?
It's not something that I can discuss on the media.
Why can't you discuss it?
Because it's a privileged information.
Okay. Does it have anything to do with the Godfrey Libya's work as Hawks head?
Yes, it does. But it has nothing to do with being closely related to criminals, as he alleges.
So, that's what Malcolm X said. Let's go to your WhatsApps now and calls. In fact, Bambata on Twitter says, Clement, Mr. Manyathela, let's connect the dots here. Malcolm X called Hawks boss. Malcolm X is Kenny's friend. Kenny was on the scene when Katie Molefe was arrested. Who called Kenny? The more they explain, the more they go deeper in the mud.
Hi, Clem, Tabo here in Swane. I don't think we should break our heads with this thing of Godfrey Libya and Malcolm X. The fact of the matter is that Malcolm X is a snitch. So he's an informant. And so that's what it is. he doesn't want that label because obviously that puts his life and reputation in question because he's been snitching on the people that he hangs out with, particularly criminals. So, yeah, it's just a snitch. That's what it is. Nothing complicated here.
Good morning, Clement. Haven't listened to Malcolm X and haven't had a chance to watch Mr. Libya. I think it was on Newsroom Africa. Really, I'm confused now. I don't know what to believe. I don't know whether to trust what Mr. Libya is saying. I think somewhere, somehow, there is some corruption that is happening or has happened, which unfortunately has caused a lot of people harm, and some it has cost their lives. It's really unfortunate, Clement. It's so painful just to think of it, that one of the top guys in the country gets to be tainted like this. I don't know, Clement, but it's serious. We need to investigate and get the truth of all this. Tuso here.
Komani, you calling us from Randburg. Good morning. Oh, we've just lost Komani there. Can we have Komani back on the line? In the meantime, let's go back to your WhatsApps.
Good morning. But why would this Malcolm X want to incriminate himself unprovoked? I don't get it. Anyway, this is to vindicate what Nkwana has said about SAPS and the high-ranking officials in that organization. But let's see how it pans out. Anonymous.
Yeah, look, this guy, the way he speaks about the heads of law enforcement, and he says, well, I know them, I've got access to them, I've got a relationship with them because I know their bosses. Like, he speaks with such authority. And again, when you look at what the KZN police commissioner has said, you've got to wonder, what are we dealing with here? And nobody forced Malcolm X to reveal himself. And maybe they wanted an exclusive so bad at Africa News Global that they thought, oh, let's reveal you as someone who called Godfrey Libya. But what they had forgotten is that Godfrey Libya had said on this show that the person who gave him that information has actually been a police informant before. So you're actually putting your life at risk. Can you imagine if this guy has people around him who are businesses who have been targeted, or not even targeted, who've been investigated by the Hawks, for instance, and they've been wondering, how did the Hawks know about this? And now they're sitting there thinking, could it have been this guy? But nobody forced this man to reveal himself like that. And he should have been more cautious and not jump into wanting to do an exclusive with Africa News Global. Because rightly so, Godfrey Libya, the former head of the Hawks, didn't want to reveal the name of the informant, which is understandable because you don't reveal, those people are not supposed to be known. But he went and said, in an exclusive, I'm going to reveal myself as a person who called Libya, forgetting that Libya has said, the person who called me has given me information before in the past, or given us information in the past that was credible.
Clement, I think here we're dealing with someone who's afraid for his life. Yeah, I think he knows maybe what has been exposed, it may come back to him. I think that's what's the case. I also think Libya had some points, and he was telling the truth. Anonymous.
Well, let's wait and see. Lesego says, Clement, I think there's a smoking gun here. Kenny said a brother of him took him to go meet KT, but we also know that Malcolm ran ZAR, and then he says he was there for 12 hours or whatever. Now there's the real hub. Which brother took Kenny there? And then which brother called Malcolm? Just too many loose ends. On the other hand, I doubt that Malcolm knows those people. The man was in varsity for 30 straight years without an exclusion. Really? Wait, maybe Libya was right about his Mbimbi having previously given them information. Who else do you know who was in varsity as long as Malcolm without being excluded. Mind you, this dude held the rector of Rao hostage and didn't get redlined. In fact, he moved to Vets and did the same thing, even threatened to jump off one of the buildings. You do your math. That's what the source says there on the WhatsApp line. It's 10:30. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. 3 people have been arrested following a viral video where they are seen giving a pipe containing drugs to a 4-year-old boy. In the video, the suspects, including the boy's mother, encourage him to light up the drugs and subsequently give him the pipe to smoke. Johannesburg Metro Police have confirmed that the suspects have confessed that the drugs contained in the pipes were Mandrax. The South African Meter Taxi and E-Hailing Association will be providing an update on the formalization of the sector in Gauteng. This comes after a number of e-hailing operators took to the streets over concerns including what they've described as an unfair split of trip fares with companies Bolt, Uber and InDrive. And the Tshwane Metro has put an alternative water supply in place as a safety precaution as it investigates reports of smelly and discolored water at its Montana reservoir. The city says technical teams are working to determine the cause of the odor with a view to restore the quality of the water supply to that reservoir. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling on the M2 West, we've got delays between the Crown Interchange and the Main Reef Road, while on the M1 South, roadworks are taking place approaching Glenhove Road. This is due to these roadworks and they are causing delays. Please be on the lookout there while travelling in Woodmead. Some issues on Woodmead Drive approaching Maxwell Drive. There's also slow-moving traffic along the N1 North in the Sunning Hill area, just as you head towards the Baklu Interchange, and that's due to roadworks taking place along that route. Please be on the lookout for men and women working the road. If you're travelling in the city of Tshwane, we've got an accident reported on the N1 North. It's right near the Flying Saucer Interchange. Delays as you come out of Porter Avenue. Please drive with care. I'll have more updates for you at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The tariff D-Day looms for South African trade with the United States of America. The president's U.S. envoy, Mr. Ngabisi Jonas. Hey, man, I was wondering where the man is. Good to hear that conversations are ongoing. My sense is that the United States has already made some decisions about the Republic of South Africa. And I think it has a lot to do with our severed relationship with Israel. And I think that that is part of the reason why South Africa is going to suffer in terms of its relationship with the United States.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
To every 702 lender who laced up, showed up and walked the talk with us this past Sunday, thank you. The 702 family loved every moment walking, talking and connecting with you on the route. You made the 2025 702 Walk the Talk one for the books, and we can't wait to do it all again with you next year. Here's to you, 702 lenders, and here's to the 2025 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
So we did a thing, a full commitment kind of thing. We've partnered with Sixt to bring worldwide to your doorstep. So you see how that's a serious thing, because that's what you deserve. We know you're the GOAT, so premium it is. Premium service, premium vehicles, premium you, premium us. Sani Sixt is all about adding extra to ordinary. Extra reach, extra countries, so you can be extra premium worldwide. Be the greatest of all time and rent Sani Sixt.
Prepare for an exhilarating new Hollywood Bets exclusive. You could win big with our exciting new bingo range from Coletta Gaming. Turbocharge your betting experience and enjoy your bounty bonanza when you try Banana Bingo, Bingo Royale, and many more. Chase funky fortunes and get into the groove for a chance to max your numbers. Reap riveting rewards when you log in and play now. Hollywood Bets. It's more fun to bet with us. T's and C's apply.
Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
As a business owner, would you rather deal with stacks of slips at the end of each day or have recons done instantly? Introducing Yoko Counter, the new all-in-one payments and points of sale system that removes the guesswork, the paperwork, and the time drain, taking your business from chaos to control, guesswork to clarity, giving you back time to focus on what truly matters. Visit yoko.com today to find out more about the simple yet powerful out-of-the-box solution with free built-in point of sale software.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
25 minutes before 11 o'clock, we're having a conversation now about climate change and climate change funding and, how central this issue can be even at the G20 as we prepared to host that. And this B20 in brief is brought to you by Standard Bank, your weekly window into the key insights and conversations that are shaping the B20 summit. So, according to the latest State of the Climate in Africa 2024 report by the World Meteorological Organization, Africa continues to bear the brunt of climate change, facing mounting costs that could reach up to 5% of the continent's GDP, with some nations already spending nearly 9% of their annual budget on climate-related disasters. It's quite clear that adaptation and resilience need to be top priorities for both the public and the private sector. So as South Africa prepares to host the 2025 G20 summit, it's actually the first ever on the African soil, right? And the B20, by the way, is the official business sector engagement group for the G20. So as we prepare to host that, it's important for us to look at issues like climate change and other challenges. So joining us to unpack this growing challenge is Sasha Cook, who is the head of Sustainable Finance at Standard Bank Group, joining us on the line. Sasha, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you very much for having me.
Let's start with your assessment as Standard Bank. Like, how do you assess the pace of climate adaptation around the world? Where are we?
So, I think when we talk about climate adaptation, Clement, to be honest, we still get a couple of glazed looks. So it might be worth starting with a brief, covering of what do we mean by climate adaptation. So when we're talking about climate adaptation, we are talking about investments in projects that actually reduce the vulnerability to the impact of climate change. And that's slightly distinct from climate mitigation, where we are talking about projects that actually slow down the potential for climate change impact, things like reducing emissions, etc. So when we're talking about adaptation and resilience, examples could include climate smart agriculture. So things like crop varieties, more drought-resistant crops, or water management techniques like using drip irrigation, which actually delivers water directly to plant roots and thereby minimizes water waste. Infrastructure is such a key theme that directly aligns with adaptation and resilience, and infrastructure in its multiple senses. So if we use transportation infrastructure as an example, transportation infrastructure actually is one of the infrastructure categories that is the most highly exposed to extreme climate risks. So projects that ensure that our roads, that our rail, that our bridges are better able to withstand things like extreme heat, flooding, etc. The last example I want to touch on is actually quite interesting, and it covers nature-based solutions. So here we are talking about restoring our natural ecosystems, in fact. So things like for coastal regions, restoring wetlands and mangroves. And by doing that, you actually provide a natural protection or an inbuilt resilience against the impact of storms, erosion, etc. And quite often, it's very interesting. If you look at these adaptation and resilience projects, not only is there a positive climate adaptation piece, but very often there are multiple socioeconomic benefits, things like local job creation, better community resilience, etc. So really a very important topic. And to go back to your original question, you asked me for my views on the pace of climate adaptation. Without a doubt, the pace is too slow. You know, the United Nations published a report called the Adaptation Gap Report. So if you look at the 2024 report, it does talk about the fact that adaptation finance is increasing year on year, which is positive, right? However, it still lags behind the rapidly increasing costs. I mean, you mentioned some quite alarming metrics, 5% of GDP, 9% of budget spend. This report, the 2024 report, talks about an increasing financing gap for climate adaptation and resilience that is estimated to be between $200 and $350 billion per annum. Those are staggering numbers.
Yeah, they are quite staggering numbers. So this is obviously going to require the partnership and the involvement of not just the private sector, but the public sector as well. How does this adaptation fit into Standard Bank Group's broader sustainability approach and commitments?
Yeah, so in a number of ways, in short, but let me take you through it a little bit more in a little bit more detail, Clement. So the group has a positive impact strategy. It's a public strategy, and it identifies 4 key focus areas. Okay, just to touch on them briefly. The first being climate change mitigation and adaptation. So it is literally one of the core pillars of our positive impact strategy. The second focus area within that strategy is on infrastructure development. And as I've mentioned, adaptation and resilience is very integrated when you start thinking about infrastructure development. The third area is business growth and job creation. And the fourth is financial health and inclusion. So adaptation and resilience actually touches on all 4 impact areas. So it is fully aligned to our own positive impact strategy. And it's also aligned with the group's strategic priority to support addressing the infrastructure and energy gap across the continent. So the group has spoken at length about the fact that we support infrastructure development of renewable energy and access to energy. And all of these areas require adaptation and resilience to be integrated into the approach and the strategy. The other area where it really does align is with our sustainable finance strategy and our frameworks. And we've got a public target to mobilize more than 450 billion rand of sustainable finance by 2028. We've made very good progress, more than 40% achieved towards this target as at the end of December 2024, and further progress will be evident when we publish our interims imminently. And within that 450 billion rand target, there are a couple of key focus areas or sub-targets. So there are sub-targets focusing on green finance and social finance of 100 billion rand each by 2028. And a lot of those projects have got direct positive adaptation and resilience impact. The last area I just want to touch on, which is also a public target set by the group, is to finance more than 7 billion rand in climate smart agriculture by 2030. And as I've already touched on, climate smart agri is one of the key categories that feeds into driving positive adaptation and resilience impact.
So do you get a sense, though, that there is a coordinated approach to climate adaptation? And I wonder how big climate adaptation and resilience across forums, whether you talk about the recent 2025 SADC Sustainable Finance Forum or even the Group of 20 engagements, how big of a factor in a conversation is that?
Yeah, good question. So is there a coordinated approach, Clement? There's definitely increased focus and awareness, and that is quite tangible. And I would say that's probably in the last 6 to 12 months, you can see that this really is one of the top topics that is spoken about at these forums. On the coordination, I think more can be done. You mentioned right at the start that this really requires a coordinated approach between public sector and private sector, and you're 100% right. So countries are developing national adaptation plans. This really does help to prioritize and coordinate across sectors and across regions. And the the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions, typically include both a mitigation and an adaptation component. So both of those are covered. But to be honest, more can be done. When you look at goals, whether they are global goals, whether they are national goals, very often the adaptation goals are not as clearly defined. They're not as clearly measurable and quantifiable as the mitigation goals. You know, when you're talking about mitigation at a national level or even at a corporate level, you can have specific targets like reducing emissions by 30% by 2030. When you're thinking about adaptation, how you define those goals becomes a lot more complex. So, you know, I would definitely say that more needs to be done to increase the coordination between the global adaptation goals, then going down to a national level, understanding the national goals and adaptation plans, and then actually what are the goals and strategies across local government, various sectors, and then right into the private sector, as you say. Maybe just to touch a little bit on some of the recent forums. You mentioned there was a SADC Sustainable Finance Forum held recently in Cape Town, and the G20, there was a side event actually specifically focused on adaptation and resilience. So definitely reiterating the point I made around a tangible increase in the level of interest, the level of awareness. And if I think of some of these recent events and forums, a couple of key messages. So, you know, again, the point around private sector and public sector coordination and participation is required to get this right. You know, in addition to having national adaptation plans, public sector needs to actually develop supportive policy and regulatory frameworks. And looking at it from a private sector point of view, a lot of the focus is on actually understanding or better understanding the physical risks that are faced. If we look at a bank, for example, what are the risks that we face or that our clients face or that we face in the assets that we hold as security through extreme weather events? And, you know, what came through in these discussions and conferences was quite interesting. So a lot of the modeling tools that are used by African institutions essentially are supported by developed world data. Now, to use like a simple example, if you're trying to predict with accuracy extreme weather events in Africa, does it make sense to be using European or developed world data? You know, so there's a need for improved data and localization of data. That came through very clearly, that adaptation plans are so localized and specific, regionally specific even. Yeah, so very, very interesting discussions. I mean, one of the last few points that came out from these conferences was this concept of, we've spoken about the increasing climate financing gap, but actually there's also a growing insurance gap. So if you think of the nature of extreme weather events, they make insurance more costly, right?
Yeah.
Therefore less affordable, particularly for those that actually need it. And so there's a need to address some of the insurance gap that is coming to the fore as well.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I want to...
themes that came out.
Yeah, and I want us to look at, you know, what are the other ways we can start addressing issues like that financing gap, that insurance gap. What are the initiatives you probably think can be developed to build momentum on adaptation? We'll get into that after this break. It's 12 minutes before 11 o'clock.
My family's struggling with snotty noses and phlegmy coughs.
Oh no! Have you tried ACC?
ACC 600 is a convenient one-a-day effervescent tablet from 14 years of age, or now also in a no-water-needed, fruity-flavored sherbet-like granules that dissolve in your mouth. Ideal for the on-the-go adult. Ask for ACC 600 effervescent or oral powder at your nearest pharmacy to get rid of the snotties and flemings. And trust, if it doesn't say ACC, it's not ACC. Food Lovers Market is bringing you unbeatable deals this winter carnival. Save big on one 7 kg potato pocket and one 3 kg onion bag for 99 Rand per combo. Buy 3 1 kg tomato thrift packs for 50 Rand, 5 creamy avocados for 50 Rand, and 3 200 gram white button mushroom punnets for just 50 Rand. Valid until 3 August. Only at Food Lovers Market. Winter Carnival now on.
Dear Journal, trying to be an adult at 3,469. Just had a fantastic 2-hour meeting. It was so productive that we accomplished nearly as much as I could have done with one well-written email.
Hating the corporate 9 to 5? Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's easy and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
7:02. Let's walk the talk.
10 minutes before 11 o'clock, we're talking climate adaptation this morning on the Clement Manyathela Show with Sasha Cook, who's the head of sustainable finance at Standard Bank Group. And Sasha, you spoke before the break about the financing gap, the insurance gap, some of the challenges around adaptation and how sometimes it's not quantifiable. So there seems to be some challenges when it comes to integrating adaptation and scaling adaptation finance. And I know among some of the newer thinking in addressing financing gaps are initiatives such as using revenue streams from carbon credits or from associated ecotourism to fund adaptation projects. What do you think are some of the initiatives that can be developed to build that momentum we need on adaptation?
Yeah, thanks, Clement. It's actually a very important point. You speak about some of the challenges. One of the key challenges when it comes to private sector participation and how we can help mobilize adaptation finance is the challenge that a number of these types of projects suffer from a lack of clear revenue streams or traditional revenue streams. So, if you think of the examples we spoke about previously, like conserving a coastal ecosystem or resurfacing roads, there's not a clear traditional revenue stream or additional revenue stream against which you can look to fund. Therefore, some of the points that you raised around, more innovative thinking or alternative revenue streams becomes critically important. And there's some quite interesting case studies we can touch on here that I hope will sort of demonstrate the point. We have concluded a couple of transactions with a company called the African Stove Company, where we actually financed against carbon credits. Now, what the African Stove Company does is they roll out or distribute clean cook stoves to rural communities in South Africa. Now, the impact of the rollout of these cook stoves is that the households that have moved from traditional open fire cooking methods to clean cook stoves would typically use about 60% less fuel, and that would be traditional wood or charcoal. This has the impact of significantly reducing carbon dioxide emissions. That, in turn, facilitates the generation of carbon credits, which are externally verified. Those carbon credits hold value. When they are sold, they actually generate an additional revenue stream. And banks like Standard Bank are able to fund against those additional revenue streams. So it just shows how there's some innovative thinking required around, looking at these projects, understanding what additional or newer revenue streams can actually be generated and how banks can therefore seek to fund against it. I mean, these projects the impact is significant. Like I mentioned, not only the positive environmental impact, but if you think of the social impact here as well, the reduction in air pollution, moving towards these clean cook stoves, it reduces air pollution by about 50%, which largely actually benefits the vulnerable groups, being women and children, which are the most exposed to air pollution. Another example I just want to touch on is a transaction where we funded a company called Wilderness Safaris. So the previous example looks at generating revenue from carbon credits. Where we funded against Wilderness, they are actually an ecotourism business. And their ecotourism revenues essentially fund their conservation efforts across 8 countries in Africa. And they've got a goal where they are looking to conserve 6 million acres of land across Africa. So we provided funding against these ecotourism revenues, linking the use of that funding to conservation efforts. We also actually partnered very recently. We partnered one of their largest subsidiaries in Botswana, Okavango Wilderness Safaris. And basically this partnership supports the SMMEs, so small, medium and micro enterprises in Okavango Wilderness Safaris' supply chain, with a focus on providing financing and capacity building for local-owned entities, citizen-owned entities, women-owned and youth-led entities. So you can see how these types of initiatives not only drive positive climate adaptation resilience benefits, but actually support the local communities and drive that socioeconomic benefit as well.
Yeah. What do you think can be the role of these multilateral bodies, like the G20, for instance? I wonder how we can use the G20 presidency and to use and leave a lasting legacy on climate adaptation. But there are many other multilateral bodies, COP30, SADC, the United Nations, we spoke about some of them. How can we use those to so that they play a critical role in driving this work that's related to climate adaptation? And we have a unique opportunity this year as we have this G20 presidency.
Yeah, absolutely, Clement. I mean, I really think it is an opportunity, as you say. So entities like these are absolutely critical on a number of fronts. Firstly, to drive the prioritization of adaptation and resilience, to really drive increased and enhanced coordination. We've touched on that a few times in this discussion now. It's such a key piece. And you know, organizations like this have the ability to drive coordination globally at a national level, regionally, and between and across the public and private sectors. And then really importantly is to facilitate capacity building. So there is a need for capacity building in newer areas like adaptation and resilience. And I think through all of that, there will be an ability to drive increased finance mobilization, which is essential and so desperately needed. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned a couple of these organizations, but the COP30, which is going to be hosted later this year by Brazil, is expected to have a very strong focus on driving adaptation and building resilience as well. And I think like you mentioned, you've got the G20 really, which can drive knowledge sharing, finance mobilization, increased international cooperation, and then at a regional or local level, entities like SADC are critical, in ensuring the regional coordination, focusing on regional priorities. And I'm going to raise it again, like I say, adaptation is very localized, and so priorities are going to differ region by region, country by country.
Sasha, I think we've learned so much about climate adaptation. Thank you so much for making time for us. Sasha Cook is the head of sustainable finance at Standard Bank Group. Remember, at the heart of global conversations shaping the future, Africa's voice matters more than ever. As Africa's largest bank by assets and lead sponsor of the B20 Summit, Standard Bank Group is proud to spotlight the continent's growth, partnerships and potential on the world stage. Through informed dialogue and powerful partnerships, Standard Bank is driving sustainable growth where it matters most. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
This past Sunday, Joburg walked the talk together. Thousands stepped up, stepped out, and stepped forward. And none of it would have been possible without the incredible partners who walked this journey with us.
As Sira, our highlight was the participation of our staff. I was so happy, and we've had a lot of people coming to our stand, so we are very happy with the turnout. We wanted to create awareness since we are the regulator of the private security industry. And this was the first, actually, of many that we are hoping to collaborate with 702 with in terms of walk the talk. So yeah, we're definitely going to take part next year.
A heartfelt thank you to every sponsor who made this year's 702 Walk the Talk possible. You powered the spirit of a city walking as one. The 702 Walk the Talk was hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the heart and art of jazz. From the 26th, 27th, and 28th of September, Omar Sangare, Abape, Mu, Jasmine Horn, Silent Ngo, and the Noisemakers, Nej Punk Trio, Michelle Denjeshelo, Velemsini, Gabimutu, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to your 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
You fell in love with her when you were just 12 years old.
Don't you feel like a cry?
She was a candy apple red, 2-door convertible V8 beast.
Don't you feel like crying?
A real beauty, the one that got away.
Don't you feel like a cry?
Worth more now than when you were 12.
Crying.
You never imagined a life without her.
Don't you feel like crying?
Now imagine having the car of your dreams in your driveway.
Oh, yes!
Invest early. You'll be so happy you did. Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is a registered FSP.
So we did a thing. A full commitment kind of thing. We've partnered with Sixt to bring worldwide to your doorstep. So you see how that's a serious thing. Because that's what you deserve. We know you're the GOAT. So premium it is. Premium service, premium vehicles, premium you, premium us. Sani Sixt is all about adding extra to ordinary. Extra reach, extra countries, so you can be extra premium worldwide. Be the greatest of all time and rent Sani Sixt.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Bali Dlamini. 3 people have been arrested following a viral video where they were seen giving a pipe containing drugs to a 4-year-old boy. In the video, the suspects, including the boy's mother, encourage him to light up the drugs and subsequently give him the pipe to smoke. Johannesburg Metro Police have confirmed that the suspects have confessed that the drugs contained in the pipes were mandrax. JMPD spokesperson Xolani Fihla says the 3 suspects were arrested yesterday.
Upon arrival, officers located the mother who matched the description from the video. When questioned, she identified 2 other individuals present in the video, including the person who recorded it. And officers approached the identified suspects, introduced themselves and questioned them about the footage. All 3 suspects confessed to using mandrax and admitting to filming the incident.
The South African Meter Taxi and E-Hailing Association will be providing an update on the formalization and unification of the sectors in Gauteng. It comes after a number of e-hailing operators took to the streets over concerns, including what they have described as an unfair split of trip fares with companies Bolt, Uber and InDrive. Other safety and regulatory concerns have also been highlighted in the recent months. Samtias Bongseni Shange says today's briefing follows engagements with various stakeholders, including the Department of Transport in Gauteng.
In the main, we'll be discussing safety, formalization, transformation, professionalization in the industry. You would know that there are too many challenges within the space of e-hailing that needs attention.
In other labour-related matters, South Africa's trade union federations have called for tighter industrial policy across the continent. COSATU, FEDUSA, NACTU and SAFTU made the calls on the sidelines of the latest L20 meeting in the Western Cape as the country continues to host a series of G20 meetings. The 4 unions used the gathering in George to deliberate on the African Continental Free Trade Area as well as its implications. As part of strengthening trade between African economies, the unions say informal cross-border traders should not be marginalized. FEDUSA's General Secretary Rifta Ajam says the upcoming review cycle provides a critical opportunity to push for binding labor protections.
Workers must be part of the conversations. Workers must shape the discussions and the outcomes in particular, because we cannot be there just as a mere participant, but an active engager in terms of how we shape the realities and the livelihoods for workers, because we can no longer accept the terms that African workers are the exporters of wealth and the importers of poverty.
To this now, the Tshwane Metro has put an alternative water supply in place as a safety precaution as it investigates reports of smelly and discoloured water at its Montana reservoir. The city says technical teams are working to determine the cause of the odour with a view to restore the quality of water supplied to the reservoir. Several areas have been affected, including Cynthia Vale, Doornpoort and all extensions of Sinneville. Spokesperson Salbi Bugaba.
Customers will be updated as soon as the cause has been determined and corrective action has been confirmed. The city sincerely apologizes for this unforeseen disruption of an essential service and pleads for customers' patience and understanding during this period.
And in Thailand, at least 9 people have been killed and 2 others injured in an explosion at a fireworks factory. The updated figures come as officers continue to search the site. Authorities say the cause of the explosion is not yet known, but an investigation is underway. Factory fires are common in Thailand, where enforcement of safety regulations remains weak. Last year, an explosion at another fireworks factory in the same province killed at least 23 people. Gold is trading at $3,326.28 an ounce. The rand is at 17.87 to the dollar, 23.86 to the pound, 20.64 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $70.04 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the M2 West. This is between Wemapan Road and the Crown Interchange. There's also bumper-to-bumper traffic along the Mike 1 North between Boysons Road and the Crown Interchange. Please be on the lookout there.
A fine day in store for Gauteng today. Temperatures peaking at highs of between 18 and 20 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: 3 people have been arrested following a viral video where they are seen giving a pipe containing drugs to a 4-year-old boy.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. 702.
We're listening to you. You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. Time for our Listener's Choice feature.
Burning questions.
Insightful answers.
Listener's Choice.
With Clement Manyathela.
So, on our Listener's Choice feature this morning, we are focusing on the tariffs that are looming. One of our listeners has asked that we discuss the implications of the looming tariff deadline and how South Africans are likely to be impacted. The Reserve Bank governor was actually warning of the potential losses nearing 100,000. As you may have heard from the Department of Trade and Industry, South Africa is waiting to hear from the US about a trade proposal that it submitted last month in the hope of avoiding high tariffs. Only 2 days are left before that 30% levy on our exports kicks in. The government has been mum about its negotiations with the US President Donald Trump's administration ahead of this deadline on the 1st of August, which comes as the two countries' relationship has deteriorated over South Africa's domestic race policy, but also the genocide case against Israel. You'll remember Trump imposed these new tariffs around the world before delaying most of them to allow for negotiations. In the past week, the US government struck deals with the EU and Japan to lower the tariffs on most goods to about 15% after threatening 25% or 30%. So we are still waiting to hear if the US will agree to the deal that we've made. And part of that deal is to offer the US 60 billion rand in private investment. But the question is that good enough? Is that enough to get the US to reconsider the 30% tariff or even extend it? Chifipa Mhango is the chief economist, joining us now on the line. Is an independent economist. Chifipa, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Clement, and good morning to your listeners.
Yeah, let's maybe start with this proposal that our government has made to the US. Part of it is that there will be a 60 billion rand in private investment. There are other elements to this deal as well. But when you look at that, is that a sweet enough deal for the US to reconsider this 30% tariff?
Well, it's a question of what is it in for the U.S. in terms of how they foresee the economic year projection based on the interest that is driving them to do these issues here. I think what we must not undermine that there's some political undercurrents here on the foreign policy issue, but also, as you mentioned earlier on the domestic factors. Now the question is that did we address the issue that USA is trying to put as a motivation to improve in the element of studies to the South African economy? I think those are issues that we really need to unpack better and foresee what are the real give and takes that the USA is actually looking at. So much as we can offer the issue for investment, but the question we must look at is to see whether that is enough on the table from the point of view for what is the real motivation from the U.S. president in terms of the issue that is facing or has got concerns on the South African perspective.
Okay. So from an economic standpoint, how serious is this threat of a 30% U.S. tariff on South African exports? And could this tip us into deeper economic trouble? I mean, the citrus industry is already raising alarm bells that we could be looking at inevitable job losses here. The Reserve Bank governor was also warning of job losses. What impact are we likely to have on our economy as a result of these tariffs coming into play?
You must also remember one thing is that production in an economy is influenced by demand factors. And then demand factors can be both domestic as well as the international market. And I think the tariff situation, what is that going to do is that it's going to actually, in a way, impact the demand of the South African products into the U.S. economy. So in this case, when you look at the product line, obviously you're looking at the agriculture sector, such as the citrus fruits, macadamia nuts, and wine, for example. So if you look at that industry per se, in terms of job creation, it's actually taking almost close to 30,000 jobs in the South African economy. And that means that once the production base has actually been reduced because of the impact of low demand, corporates obviously get impacted on the margin side. So which means that once your margins are being reduced, obviously then you start now looking at issues of restructuring. And restructuring obviously leads to job losses. So we are looking at just in the citrus fruits, wine, and macadamia nuts industry, almost 30,000 jobs at risk here.
So we're looking at ripple effects that could have impacts on supply chain, on employment, on household income. So if these 30% tariffs do come the 1st of August, how do they actually affect the prices of goods South Africans rely on? I mean, I know we speak about the citrus industry, we're talking about fresh produce there. But when we look at just particularly food in general, even cars, like just everyday essentials, because sometimes I think we make the mistake of thinking the people that will be impacted here in businesses, are like the citrus industry, for instance, or certain industries, automobile, etc. But I would imagine that at some point, these costs and the impact trickles down on ordinary South Africans through other ways.
Well, it does. I think, as I mentioned earlier on, that when it comes to issues of restructuring in the industry, obviously you look at your demand patterns. So when you restructure, you can restructure to say, okay, how do we best reduce cost? Or you can restructure on the point of view that the international demand market has actually now been taken away. So then you look at considering other markets where you can actually be exporting. But if that is not the case, then you then look at reducing production even domestically. And what that means that you start now looking at where can you then make wins. So then you start now increasing prices of your own goods in the domestic market to counter the impact of the reduced revenue coming from the international market. So it's a number of factors that how companies can do in terms of restructuring. But I think one of the key elements we must also not ignore here is that the overall impact of monetary policy in terms of the tariffs coming into effect. So, for instance, we're looking at a situation where currently our inflation rate is around 3%. It's moved slightly from 2.8% in the previous recording. What does that mean then in terms of tariffs? What it means that from the exchange rate point of view already, we're seeing an impact. Just on the 23rd of July, the rand dollar extended was around 17 rand 58 cents. We're now moving at 17 rand 89 cents. So you're seeing the impact as the day gets closer. So I think that the inflationary impact of the extended comes in very quickly because of the fact that imported prices, oil prices might end up now being affected in terms of how we import our fuel internationally, which means that realistically we might look at a movement upwards towards an inflation. That means that our low-income people domestically might be affected in terms of issues of affordability of goods and services, be it food and anything else.
So I would imagine that from a government's point of view, what they need to then plan ahead is the help for industries that are likely to be most affected. I mean, the citrus farmers, as I said, are warning of unsold fresh produce as this deadline looms. So is there a way you think government can somehow intervene should these tariffs come in on the 1st of August and at least assist, just such cushion the likely most affected industries?
Well, I think there's a number of options which government can consider in terms of supporting industries. One is the diversification of our export base into new markets. If you look at the citrus fruit industry, for instance, there's still opportunities in terms of growing new markets. In India, there's opportunities there, but also taking advantage of maybe the Intercontinental African Free Trade Area and also the opportunity, looking at the BRICS market in terms of expanding sales value, but also sales volumes in this new market, and also be an opportunity for the government to consider. But then one can also looking at increasing sales volume in existing markets. So let's say we are selling maybe that 10 tons for fruits in the Chinese market. We can then look at whether there can be opportunity to be moved to 60 tons. So all those are elements of negotiation that can be on the table. Yeah. But I think another area we're looking at improving our productivity aspects in the industries, skills development from the labor perspective, but also looking at the energy availability and also energy cost to minimize cost that.
Yeah. Oh, Chifipa, the line is breaking there. It's breaking there, so I'm going to put you back to the producers to try and re-establish it, and then we'll continue our conversation after this at 17 minutes after 11.
This past Sunday, Joburg walked the talk together. Thousands stepped up, stepped out, and stepped forward. And none of it would have been possible without the incredible partners who walked this journey with us.
We as Freedom Park are excited. The highlight for us is the coming together of the diversity of South Africans from all walks of life. There could not have been a better partner for this walk, and we are coming back as Freedom Park. Prime Media 702, we are here and we are taking this further, we are taking this forward, because this walk, it's also about a national dialogue. It's about getting South Africans talking and reflecting as they walk.
A heartfelt thank you to every sponsor who made this year's 702 Walk the Talk possible. You powered the spirit of a city walking as one. The 702 Walk the Talk was hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
Introducing Auto & General's Fire Assist benefit in partnership with Fidelity Secure Fire.
Hi, I'm Zamo Mkhunu. I'm a firefighter and I've faced over 1,000 fires. There's a lot of training. I mean, you get punished. You can save things, but really it's about saving lives. I'm a very committed fireman, and with this partnership, I'll be able to help more people.
We make sure you never face the flames alone. Follow our social media for more. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Choose Checkers, SA's #1 value for money supermarket, and save on Clover Crush 100% fruit juice blend, 1.5 litre for $39.99 each. Bonita or Parmalat salted butter, 500 grams for $74.99, and Baby Soft White 2-ply or Supreme Quilts toilet rolls, 18-pack, any two for 249 Rand. Valid until this Sunday at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Aquele.
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 Aquela.
Aquele.
Aquili.
Aquele.
No matter how you say it, one thing's for sure. Aquele is South Africa's most loved water brand, refreshing you with pure natural spring water and delicious flavored sparkling drinks. From every sip to every smile, thank you Mzansi for making Aquele a part of your everyday moments. Aquele, spreading joy to South Africa naturally.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra's early spring season features a stellar lineup of international and local talent. Enjoy favorites by Mozart, Beethoven and Tchaikovsky. Concerts run at the Linda Auditorium on Thursday evenings from 7 to 28 August. Book at Quicket. Visit jpo.co.za for more info.
702 and Corporates That Care with Hirsch's are talking about Hirsch's involvement in the Claire Ellis Brown Preschool.
So the Claire Brown School is just the most beautiful little school. This wonderful teacher came through called Sandra McLaren. She said to me something which I don't know if I should have done, but I did, was come through and visit the school. And the school had a beautiful garden, and growing up in a flat, you didn't have a garden. These little kids that live in the area now have somewhere to go and play, which just seems so special. So I thought, how can we get involved with that? And one of the things I found out was they're looking at their books. Their rates were like through the roof, like 6,000 Rand a month in rates, which was just crazy. So after finding people to speak to at the city council and irritating them for months and months, we got the rate reduced to 100 Rand a year and backdated 10 years.
Wow.
And I thought, geez, we can make it a little bit of a difference here, which was awesome. Then we started fixing up the school and painting and putting new kitchens and finding food for the kids. And we've been doing that for over 20 years.
Hirsch's, proud to help grow bright futures, one child at a time. Learn more at hirsches.co.za. 702. Let's walk the talk. Burning questions.
Insightful answers.
Listener's choice.
With Clement Manyathela.
21 minutes after 11 o'clock, we are talking about the looming tariff deadline and what it means for South Africans on our Listener's Choice feature this morning with Chifipa Mhango, who is an independent economist, director of economic research and strategy at Dawn Consultancy Group. Chifipa, you were talking earlier before the line started deteriorating there about the need for us to look at other markets through the Intercontinental Free Trade Agreement, the BRICS bloc. However, I must say that, how much of an option is looking at markets within the BRICS bloc when you've got Donald Trump also threatening countries that are aligning with BRICS and saying, if you continue to align with BRICS, then we're going to impose an additional 10% tariff. And I wonder if that has been a frustration on the part of our government representatives as they've been negotiating with the U.S.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we must now be prepared for in terms of scenario planning for our businesses. I think diversification becomes now a key factor, both from the value chain issues in terms of supply, but also from the market point of view in terms of where our decision of the market is. One of the things I've been observing about Trump is that not everything is about deal making. So he's taking the concept of his business operations in terms of how he's crafting elements of navigating policy issues. So I think as a country, we are now in the new terrain in the next 4 years in terms of how we move forward with regard to both our foreign policy, but also in terms of economic tools that we have in place in terms of driving our growth patterns in the economy. And I think trade has always been a tool which has been utilized for some of us who are advantaged in terms of age. We seem to be seeing a situation of the Cold War coming into effect in a new pattern where trade is now being used to navigate elements of foreign policy.
And Gwademantashe has actually suggested that we should seek new mineral markets if tariffs are imposed. And I wonder if that wouldn't elicit a response from the U.S. And to be clear, our mining commodities, including platinum group metals, those continue to have duty-free access to the U.S. Is that the case?
If that is the case, I mean, you're talking about 76% of our export basket is actually made up of minerals. So, but then you then enter into a thinking process to say, but why is the U.S. only trying to punish us on only these citrus fruits products? How come they're not punishing us in terms of minerals? So it tells you that no, it's more about the need basis point where they understand that no, their industries need minerals for their production base to actually move forward in terms of mineral beneficiation. So if a suggestion of deal making obviously can involve our minerals, I think that would be an option for us on the table to say tit for tat approach would be the way of dealing with things here in terms of the deal making process.
Yeah, and our government, from a statement they released yesterday, they said they're not going to go for a tit for tat. They don't want to retaliate. Here's a question from Simon who says, Clement, can you please ask your guest there, as a South African international freight forwarding agent, must I charge my clients more when exporting their cargo to the U.S. to accommodate these new tariffs? What options are available for those who are exporting their products, Chifipa?
Well, if our community from the competitive point of view is not actually feasible, then obviously that would be the option on the table. So which means that no, because at the end of the day, these costs are always passed on to the consumer. So in this case, we're talking about the American consumer actually suffering from the point of view of the products that come from South Africa. So I think those are some of the options that which will actually even make our products even more uncompetitive on the international market, because the fact that the cost burden of tariffs, it's actually it's always passed on to the consumer. And in this case, being the export agents, obviously that cost will actually be passed on to them, and they must know how to recover that cost.
Yeah, another one says, hi Clement, please can your guest explain how tariffs work in both the importing and exporting countries? USA media explains that these increased tariffs will affect the American consumer and not the exporter. If this is true, then we don't need to worry about having a negative impact on us. Your comment on that, Chifipa? I mean, is it possible that you can, as Simon was suggesting, that maybe you just add in you add in something there then you transfer that cost to the consumer in the US? Then what are the consequences of that?
Well, I think, as I said, tariffs are a pricing mechanism in terms of demand patterns. So one needs to understand that the element why we put tariffs is to protect your domestic market. So it doesn't mean that, for example, if we take an issue of citrus fruits, what it means that what Trump is trying to do is to force American consumers to buy more local products in the American economy. So by making South African products more expensive on the American economy. So in so doing, obviously it will have an impact. It will be based on the point of view of our local production base, our jobs and so forth, and even our GDP patterns going forward. So I think the issue is more about the impact this tariffs has on the domestic economy from the point of view of production. So we have to be worried. That is an element where we have to be worried of. We cannot have an impact in terms of what happens to American consumers, but their way of looking at things to choose more American products than South African products. That will be the impact we can have on international markets.
Yeah, because if we pass it on to the American consumer, then what if they stop buying our products because then they're just too expensive? So that doesn't help us. But just lastly, like from a global perspective, what are the consequences of such a trade war on the global economy, so to speak? Because I would imagine there are many countries that may decide to retaliate at some point if they don't reach a deal with the United States. Inflation probably then worsens across the world, and that has an impact on our economic growth. I mean, this is going to endanger global economic development. I mean, already global markets tanked after Trump made the announcement. What do you foresee as the impact on the global economy?
I think on the global economy, one, we're already seeing currency instability, even though, like, for example, I gave an example on the South African perspective, but now you're seeing the exchange movements. So that would be where the global market will actually be watching in terms of currency movements. But also at the same time, you're looking at the reaction of other countries, and that will mean that no inflationary pressures on the global economy will actually be much more seen. We have had an advantage in the recent months where most economies have actually been reducing interest rates or even keeping interest rates unchanged to cushion the effect of what we call in terms of trying to address issues of inflation, but also trying to bring in element of motivation towards growth. But then this is actually tariffs are now going to create an instability in terms of monetary policy environment globally. So we don't want to see interest rates going up globally because that then will also impact our local economy in terms of direction towards monetary policy.
Chifipa Mhango, thank you so much for making time for us. Chief Economist, Director of Economic Research and Strategy at Dawn Consultancy Group. Time now for the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Afterwards, we've got our Sharing Space feature. Good morning, Mongezi Koko.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. 3 people have been arrested following a viral video where they are seen giving a pipe containing drugs to a 4-year-old boy. Now, in the video, the suspects, including the boy's mother, encourage him to light up the drugs and subsequently give him the pipe to smoke. Johannesburg Metro Police have confirmed the suspects have confessed that the drugs contained in the pipes were mandrakes. Let's turn to this now. While long-term housing is on the horizon for communities in the Eastern Cape affected by the devastating floods, the provincial government says it is in full swing with its urgent mission to house hundreds of displaced families. Floodwaters ravaged more than 6,800 households, leaving at least 4,000 people homeless. The province says a dedicated resettlement site has been secured in New Rest, located close to Butterworth. And striking pilots have written an open letter sharing their frustration over the working conditions at low-cost airline Fly Safair. The airline and trade union Solidarity have been in discussions under the supervision of the CCMA since last week. Affiliated pilots are demanding a more than 10% salary increase, while the employer is offering around half that amount. In the open letter published yesterday, the pilots say their strike is not about greed, but rather dignity, fairness, and being heard. Now, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday, or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling in the city of Tshwane, we've got a major accident seen along the N1 North. It happened right before Grasfontein Road. It's causing heavy delays coming out of the Flying Saucer interchange. Do expect about a 20-minute hold up there. While traveling in the southerly direction of this route, do expect some delays as well, as people are having a look at what's happening on the opposite side of the road. If you are traveling on the M1 North, we've got some delays between Boysons Road and the Crown interchange due to roadworks that are taking place there. The southerly direction is also affected with delays coming out of the double-decker section towards the Crown interchange, while heading towards the Kilulis interchange in Bedfordview. Delays on the N3 North, that is, between Van Buren Road and the Kilulis interchange, also due to roadworks taking place along that route. If you do come across anything else on the roads, do remember to share those reports with us. We're on X at EWN Traffic. I'm Amo Ramela. Otherwise, Karabo Jali will have your next traffic update at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
7:02.
11:32, time for the Sharing Space. This is where we share our stories, anything that has happened in your life that you think would be interesting to some of our listeners, and it would be interesting to get their thoughts on. Maybe something that happened at work, in your family, when you're out on a date, whatever the case is, when you are making a presentation at work. You can share that with us. You can send us an email on cm@702.co.za. Today, we are hearing a story about siblings. So I'm going to play a WhatsApp voice note, and then afterwards go to your calls and WhatsApps. If you've got advice for this listener, please be kind enough to give it. Or if you just want to share your own experience, maybe you've experienced something similar, I'd like to hear your stories as well.
Hi, Clement and the listeners. I hope you guys are well. So, my older sister sadly passed away last year in November. She was a very important part of our family as she took care of our parents financially. She had a very good job and was generous with money. When she passed, her will stated clearly that she wanted the money to go to our mom and her 2 children. My parents had 5 children and are now left with 4, and I'm the last born. My 2 siblings, who come after my older sister, made it a mission to torment my mom for my sister's money. They claim that my sister used to take care of them financially as they have been unemployed for years. As I said, my sister was a very giving person and she probably did take care of them. My other sibling and I have been independent for a while and didn't really rely on our sister. So my 2 other siblings say that they're now going to approach the courts so that they can get a stake in my sister's will. I find this to be very disgusting and entitlement on their side. They are fully able to go and look for jobs. Recently, I heard a similar story to ours where siblings wanted a stake in their siblings' will. So my question to you and your listeners is, why do people feel entitled to their siblings' money, especially because my sister's will clearly stated that her kids and my mom were the people that she's leaving the money to?
Okay. So sister has died. So mom had 5 children. There's a sister now who's died, who used to take care of, from what I'm picking up here, everyone in the household. Well, mom, her own children, and some of the siblings, it appears. And this sister who has died has, of course, left a will, and it clearly stipulates that the mom and her own children are the ones that benefit from that. But the deceased sister's siblings are now trying to claim a stake in the sister's estate because they argue that, well, we also relied on her for our well-being. She took care of us. Therefore, we deserve some of what she has left behind. And I'm glad that Anonymous also mentioned this recent case that we've seen of siblings who are trying to approach the courts to claim money and claim a stake in a sibling's estate. I think I remember reading that story about a week ago. So how do you deal with something like that? And has any of you been in a situation like that? I think Anonymous is asking, why do some people feel so entitled to their siblings' money, for instance? Does it make sense to you that because these siblings relied on this sister who has now died, then they deserve to claim something from her estate? I mean, she had her own children. She has a mom that she has clearly decided to leave everything she has for. But the siblings are saying we want to benefit from that as well because we were part of the responsibility of our sister. How do you address something like this as a family? Do you cut off these sisters? Are they wrong? Do you think the sisters are wrong to be wanting to claim that? Because now they may even be considering going to court. And they probably know how probably rich this sister who has passed is. 011-883-0702. You can give us a call and share your thoughts with us. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Maybe you've been in the same situation yourself. How did you resolve this? And how would you suggest that this family resolves this conundrum?
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
South Africa has porous borders and has therefore become a smuggler's paradise.
Ports of entry pose a very serious risk because that is where these syndicates and others use to traffic people in. We will be establishing a task team for the Cape Town airport and also launching a guideline, a manual to assist and guide those working in this field.
Andres now.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
At the heart of global conversations shaping the future, Africa's voice matters more than ever. As Africa's largest bank by assets and lead sponsor of the B20 Summit, Standard Bank Group is proud to spotlight the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Through informed dialogue and powerful partnerships, Standard Bank is driving sustainable growth where it matters most. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
What is Overtrail? Is it off the beaten path, over the edge of comfort, or the thrill of the road less taken? It's over every bridge, every obstacle, every trail, and over to that view that takes your breath away. Overtrail means going further, exploring deeper, surrounded by the comfort and sophistication of a luxury SUV. It's this spirit that inspired the Overtrail project. Experience Overtrail in the LX and GX range. Lexus. Experience amazing.
PG Glass Repair, PG Glass Replace.
Hi, I'm Telane. Got a tip. Our advanced repair technology fixes it fast with the best results. No insurance, we offer affordable cash deals.
For quality you can trust, visit pg.co.za today.
To every 702 lender who laced up, showed up, and walked the talk with us this past Sunday, thank you. The 702 family loved every moment walking, talking, and connecting with you on the route. You made the 2025 702 Walk the Talk one for the books, and we can't wait to do it all again with you next year. Here's to you, 702 lenders, and here's to the 2025 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
20 minutes before 12 o'clock. Let's go straight to your WhatsApps.
Hi, Clement. I think Anonymous must name and shame her siblings. One word I would that comes to mind for me is slech. It's just the siblings are slech, because the last will and testament takes precedent, and that is the law of the country. So they can go to the highest courts. They will spend more money trying to fight this than what they will get from the estate, probably.
Yeah, and I think it's easy, obviously, to look at it from a legal point of view. A will is a will, and it's clearly stipulated. For me, my worry is their conduct is quite concerning. What happens if, yes, they go to court, they challenge this, and they fail, which they probably will? They're still part of the family, and I would be very uncomfortable with their behavior and their level of entitlement. So, there's a family dynamic here that I think needs to be addressed far beyond just the legalities around how you claim from someone's estate and whether what they say in the will is what stands. Tapiwa, you're calling us from Four Ways. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Morning, Clement. It's very obvious, Clement, that this lady left a will that clearly stated that she wants nothing, left to her siblings. There's a reason for that. We don't have that nuance. And I agree with you. There's a reason and family dynamic here why that, that estate did not extend to the siblings. And this lady left behind 2 kids and a mother. Those kids will need to be, looked after. So that's the purpose of that, estate. So this kind of entitlement is completely toxic, and it's mind numbing and mind boggling that somebody would want to be that entitled. It's beyond words.
It's beyond words. It's actually quite scary. Tapiwa in Four Ways, thank you for your call.
Hi, Clement. Interesting case, voice note. I definitely support and agree with the last born. These two are definitely selfish and entitled. The deceased lady, has 2 kids. So those 2 kids still need to grow, get educated and whatever. These 2, the mom must just buy 1 car, 1 motorbike each. They must go fend for themselves. That's a nice leg up. But not anticipate like a living stipend or something. No. They must go fuguza, they must go work. Thanks, Clement.
Good morning, Clement. I feel so disgusted by the behavior of these siblings.
They've entitled themselves to the extent that they think that sister owes them something. Even in her death, they don't even think about the children that are left behind. I think this is a lesson also to us, generous givers. When you give, make it clear that it is not my responsibility to do something for you. I'm just doing it because I can. But if I can't, please do not entitle yourself. Do not entitle yourself to people's things. I feel so, Thanks, Clement. Tembi.
Hi, Clement. So on Anonymous's case, she is right to be disgusted, and I think those adult siblings are just wasting their time in terms of our law of deceased estates and succession. They have no claim against the sibling. The sibling was donating to them all along. She has children who depend on her estate. In fact, being generous enough to give something to her mother is probably just to recognize that her mother will now need to look after her children. The people who have a claim on that estate are really her children, her surviving children, and those siblings have no claim whatsoever. They must go, they must find jobs, and that's it. Yes, she was generous whilst alive to give them donations from time to time, and that's why she excluded them from the will, because they have no need to be looked after by a fellow sibling. They can maybe chase the mother for the mother's share, but even that is just not necessarily sustainable. As a child, you can give to your parents, but parents don't inherit from their children. Children inherit from their parents, and siblings don't inherit from siblings either. Only if she didn't have children, maybe they might have a claim, but they really don't. And it's just an embarrassing result of laziness where they think they must get something from her. They have nothing to get from her. They don't deserve anything.
So how do you deal with it then within the family setup? How do you deal with that? Because as I say, for me, it's so there's the legal point here where we can argue whether they would even have a strong case, which many of us agree they wouldn't. But these are people that are still part of the family. How do we deal with that? Can you imagine if this woman who's died was a man and he was married and he used to take care of his siblings and he's now deceased and he's left his kids and wife and he has left money and his property and belongings, estate to the wife and his children? Can you imagine how these siblings would have treated the wife? Have you seen cases like that where also a man dies who used to take care of his own siblings and even mom? He dies, leaves everything to the wife and his own children, as it should be. And the siblings of the man would start treating the wife in a hectic way. It happens. And I think had this been a man who has done that, these people would have found other ways to make the life of the woman very, 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 very difficult. They would have made her life very difficult because there's a level of entitlement sometimes that exists within family setups where siblings think, yeah, my sister or my brother has got a lot of money and has got a family. We must also benefit, even when they're still alive. They get angry as you, as Makoti, as the wife to their brother, or as the husband to their sister, because you seem to be benefiting a lot from the riches of their sibling, no matter how old they are. It's crazy out there. More of your calls and WhatsApps after this. It's 13 before 12.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The tariff D-Day looms for South African trade with the United States of America. The president's U.S. envoy, Mr. Ngabisi Jonas. Hey, man, I was wondering where the man is. Good to hear that conversations are ongoing. My sense is that the United States has already made some decisions about the Republic of South Africa. And I think it has a lot to do with our severed relationship with Israel. And I think that is part of the reason why South Africa is going to suffer in terms of its relationship with the United States.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Want to give your business the edge? Business Outsurance are experts in business insurance for law firms, real estate agencies, computer services, and more. See why over 100,000 businesses across various industries trust them? Switch to Business Outsurance and you could get an out bonus of up to 10% of your paid premiums back. Get a quick and easy quote today. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed, insured, and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
Calling all golf pros. Hollywood Bets invites you to step onto the green. Tee up, take a swing, and enjoy glorious golf action from electrifying competitions and thrilling live tournaments. Get ready to conquer the fairway and chase epic fortunes. Ready to master the odds and experience your crowning moment? Bet now on all the excitement and prepare to make your hole-in-one shot to sensational success. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
So we did a thing, a full commitment kind of thing. We've partnered with Sixt to bring worldwide to your doorstep. So you see how that's a serious thing, because that's what you deserve. We know you're the GOAT, so premium it is. Premium service, premium vehicles, premium you, premium us. Sani Sixt is all about adding extra to ordinary. Extra reach, extra countries, so you can be extra premium worldwide. Be the greatest of all time and rent Sani Sixt.
The Sharing Space
On the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
10 minutes before 12 o'clock.
Now what I don't understand is that these siblings of the sister, how do they expect their sister's children to be supported if they want a cut in their money? They're not going to be able to go and get work and support their deceased sister's children. So the money that is left with their mother is for their mother to take care of these children, get them to school, make sure they have uniform, make sure they go to university even after matric, make sure that they are set up for life, you know. But if the siblings now want a cut, they're lazy, stay sitting at home, don't want to go and look for work, are they going to be able to support their sister's children once the money is finished?
Hey, morning, Clement. Hey, this generation of ours has raised a laziness culture, né? Whereby grown people are now claiming money of people. Like, dude, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. That means that sister threw up a will on purpose, knowing very well what might happen. So those siblings don't have a leg to stand on, I think. I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I don't think they have a leg to stand on, eh? They're just lazy. Aye. Crooks from Devland.
Yo, ngeke abaye court. Let them go to court. It's a pity there's a mother. Mothers are sometimes soft. She is going to share something with these entitled siblings. By a court, let them go to court. The court must decide this. Yeah, simple. It was going to be better if this thing was left with the kids and they were putting their foot down and saying, "Ningazositshwela kabi antholi lutho phumani niyosebenza noma niyaphi ayikho into enjalo." Never. I would love to see this in court. Baba.
Hi, Clement Bongs here. With that lady, the siblings might actually have some sort of claim because if the sister was taking care of them and they can prove that, I think, I'm not sure, but I think the law does make provision for that in some way or form. So it'll just have to, they'll have to prove that she was taking care of them.
But Clement, those siblings must go find jobs. They must go work. No, actually, they must even kick them out. These ones sound like those kids that will kill their mom for the money. No, they must just go look for jobs, and they were not included in the will, and there was a reason. Hey, Bo.
Good day, Clement. It's MVP. I tell you what, there are so many people who are waiting for us to die so that they can take over what we own. It's a pity that most of us black people don't do wills, and you end up having your kids and your wife fighting with your siblings over what you left for your family. I think there should be a topic where black people are actually taught about wills.
On the WhatsApp line, Vivian says, Clement, these siblings are so entitled. They obviously have no regard for the family dynamics. They should fend for themselves like the rest of us. This is disgusting, to say the least. Another one says, I do understand that some adults are supported by a sibling because of our socioeconomic situations in South Africa. However, this support can make them entitled and not encourage them to go out and work. Another one says, on the issue of entitled siblings, I pity this mother who, instead of mourning her daughter, now has to deal with selfish siblings. Yo, batsadi batswere boima, strength to Anonymous. And then another one says, the sisters are very ungrateful. The sister carried them with her all life, and now she passes on. They still want her to carry them, even if she is no more. They are sick. Please, they must stand up and work. They are not disabled. They are too cruel. But I'm happy for the sister who drafted this will while she was still alive. Yo, can you imagine if there was no will? Oh, that would have complicated things. That would have broken this family. But again, does this not have the potential to break this family?
Hi, Clement. I think that, let them go to court. How do they have money to go to court and fight for something that doesn't belong to them? It'll probably cost them more to go fight for that, and they'll probably get very little out of it. And there's a saying that you don't mess with the dead. So if they think that trying to get or extort money in that way will take them anyway, I think they will suffer even more. That's just my take.
Hi, Clement. When my aunt, Mamholo, passed on, she was the firstborn in my mother's family. And she had lots of small businesses. She was married, had small businesses like sewing businesses, bakery businesses, and catering businesses. And when she passed, she had one adopted daughter. She did not have children of her own and a husband. But you won't believe that when she passed, her sisters, my other aunts, they were fighting to get for entitlement to her equipment. And there was no will, I understand, but they were fighting and forgetting that she had an adopted daughter, she had a husband. They fought and they each got a piece of every equipment of her. Imagine.
Hi, Clement. Interesting show. Yeah, it's disgusting, honestly. Entitlement. Your people are so entitled. I actually lost my brother in 2021, and my siblings, were the ones that were assisting me the whole time, with the will and all those things, the estate and so on, up until everything was, completed. So they never, ever expected anything from me, So they assisted me from beginning till end. So there were no issues. So I don't know why people are so entitled, eh? Thank you, Sabel and Midrand.
Medical aid plans, they're normally like this.
So, you'll need to take this form and this. So don't forget this too. Okay, wait. Don't forget this one. Wait. Okay, done.
My back!
Sorry, sir. That's gonna have to come out of your savings.
At Bonitas, we make our plans simple, so they're easy to understand. We also offer a benefit booster and a range of other benefits that don't come off your savings. Visit bonitas.co.za when you need us. Bonitas, medical aid for South Africa. T's and C's apply.
Want to celebrate Women's Day in style? Then get your tickets as Grammy Award-winning singers Anthony Hamilton and Joe Thomas come together to celebrate the incredible women of Mzansi on the 9th of August. Happening at the iconic DP World Wanderers Stadium in Sandton, they'll be joined by South Africa's multi-award-winning singers, the incomparable Zonke, Sjava and Vusinova. Get your tickets now on CompuTicket or webtickets.co.za. Brought to you by Soulful Night, Vatex Events and 702.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Coming up next, Mandy Wiener, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, and you?
Good. What's popping today?
The MK party and the presidency in court. I'm busy watching Advocate Dalian Mpofu arguing before the Constitutional Court over the Police Minister and the Madlanga Commission. The presidency will speak to us about the State Capture Commission progress report, or lack thereof. The trade relationship between South Africa and the US in the spotlight. We know that tariff deadline is looming. Also, the G20 ministers meeting currently taking place. And then we'll find out more about the Daily Maverick story about how the services sector blew 163 million rand and broke our skills promise.
All right, that's the Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Thank you for listening to the show today. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Mungi Zikoko. We begin with news just in. The charges against the man accused of murdering 14-year-old Likhona Fose have been withdrawn. Mduduzi Mnisi was arrested last month after police linked him to the murder of the girl. Fose's mutilated body was found in an open field in Durban Deep, west of Johannesburg. Today, Mnisi appeared before the Roodepoort Magistrates Court on charges of premeditated murder. During proceedings, new information emerged, resulting in the state dropping its case against him. We'll have more on this story